know. Got that vertigo, man, I can feel it in my toes. I say now light this up, move it state to state. Mind is on skyscraper, watch your body levitate. We wake up, lift it so you know. Got that vertigo, man, I can feel it in my toes. I say now light this up, move it state to state. Mind is on skyscraper, watch your body levitate.
Morning, everybody.
Yo. Oh yeah, y'all.
Happy Monday.
Yo.
This guy's a bachelor.
This is the ball of energy in here. It's just it's
No.
light. It's the unending light.
Today, I was
When
out
did you guys get back? Yesterday or today?
last night, like at like 9 o'clock or something. So it was,
That's late for
and
the
it was like
kids.
we woke up, spent 2 hours packing, spent 3 hours on the road, got to the airport, had an hour delay, so another 3-4 hours at the airport, and then flew in, and then packed up everything, and then got home. So it was basically the whole day traveling. And then this morning, it was like I got up, looked at the backlog, took care of like 2 things, and then I went running because I had been not on diet, surprisingly.
On vacation?
Yeah,
What?
no, crazy. So I had some making up to do. Had a lot of energy though.
Yeah, Bryce, we're professional and we can just switch it on like
It-
that. See the difference?
Oh yeah, no. This is much more affected, a little more lived-in character.
Lived in. You, my boy, what has happened? You're expanding your whole your very Hollywoodness and showbiz. Very lived in. Very lived in. I want to use the O word. I'm going to use the O word. Okay, can I? Okay, just say B-man, Bryce. You can say no, don't use it, but I'm going to use it. Organic. All right. All right, Bri, come take a look at the cut of this. I got a cut at this, okay? All right. Now you pop here, not so much. So what we need to do is figure out how to dial that up.
Oh, so more energy? Is that what you need, boss? Just with more energy, more of that wow factor?
Faster.
Oh, got it.
Faster.
And but also precisely stick to the script though.
One smile more.
Well, but also make it natural. Make it you. Don't make it fake.
Yeah. So happy Monday. Happy Pride Month. I mean, I guess it was last week too, but
I don't know when the San Francisco Pride thing is. I feel like I would have known.
You
if
will
it was-
know. I just need some clarification. Should I not be feeling pride right now?
No, you can.
Okay.
Parade.
I mean, I'll do what I need to do.
Whenever I hear, all I can think of is the Patton Oswalt bit about the Pride Parade. That like, it's a shame that the Pride Parade is only in cities where there's already gay people, because it should for like the entire country. So you just have like the one like lonely hayseed who like, you know, realizes that this is his dream, and he's just like on the edge of town like, I'll miss you, gay pride parade. I'll miss you, over energetic Puerto Rican wearing only a cock sock.
Listen, in honor of Pride Month, I'm gonna stare at some photos of Mario Lopez longingly, right? No.
Okay, so the LA Pride Parade was this weekend. San Francisco, it's the end of the month, June 20th.
I'm trying to do my part, people.
I'll miss you, gay pride parade.
Have you guys? I'm sure you guys have to have seen this, but the whole thing with the Babadook being like co-opted as a gay icon.
Wait,
I don't
really?
know what this
No.
Who?
Oh
Wait,
yeah,
wait,
yeah.
who?
Gay Babadook?
The Babadook.
I don't know what
Like
the Babadook
the horror
is.
movie?
Yeah, like the horror movie. Yeah, yeah. Here we got a Vox. How Babadook became the LGBTQ icon we didn't know we needed. But like, I think it all just started with like with Tumblr memes of just like just the way it looks, the Babadook looks, because it kind of just looks a little goofy. Here we go. Yeah, my favorite Tumblr meme is insisting the Babadook is gay. I don't know. It's a very interesting. As far as like jokey things go, it's pretty funny.
Although, by the way, for whatever the ingredients go into this story, it is in the rich gray Venn diagram area of think pieces, because you just Google gay Babadook and there is just think pieces as far as the eye can see.
Oh,
from
I didn't even Google gay Babadook, just Babadook.
just all. Oh no. Google gay Babadook, and it's just how the Babadook became the LGBTQ icon we didn't know we needed. The Babadook is a gay icon now, but why? By Slate.
The secret gay history of the Babadook.
It's official. The gay Babadook now has a Netflix.
Has Netflix Baba Shook. Oh, jeez. Oh, wait, that was a real screenshot? So we saw this screenshot of Netflix. I thought this was a joke. But I think this sounds like it's a real screenshot. A real goof.
Of LGBTQ movies.
That's amazing.
The Babadook has become a gay icon. Move over, Cher. Babadook's here.
Okay, here you go. I'm about to make a very important announcement on Twitter.
Oh, cool.
Right now.
Is it that we're live, or is it the other thing?
No, it's not that we're live, it's that we made Scam School into a TV show premiering on the Science Channel. We'll talk about it on the show. That's okay, right, Andrew? We'll talk about that?
Sorry, Brian. I got an agenda, and it is not included.
Damn, we gotta stick to the agenda. I knew it! I knew it! Judas!
All right. Well, I believe that I'm good to go. If you guys are good to go, are you guys good to go?
Yo.
I'm trying to load this thing up here because like I wanna, and I'm getting like, hey, your browser don't support Flash. It's like, no kidding.
Yo! This ain't no agenda.
Space NML posted an Onion headline from earlier. Small town throws pride parade for only gay resident.
I mean, you would think there would be at least one other gay resident. That's, I mean,
Ideally.
yeah. Otherwise,
Ideally, it
I'd
would
be
be an
moving
even
to
number,
another. Like he's looking around, like, really, the only one, the only one. I mean, even statistically speaking, come on, people.
Gaming Man says it's a TV show and there's an hour of it. Actually true.
That's
actually correct.
That both of those are correct. Yeah.
Actually correct.
Details incoming. Details incoming. How we feeling? We ready?
I'm about emailing Bryce something right now.
Oh, got it.
How you guys feeling about that electron? Okay, can we talk real quick about the best thing from E3?
Some real talk. Yes.
It was Devolver Digital's conference last
Okay.
night.
I want to know more of the story about it, and we can talk about it on the show. But I only saw the highlight clip of where everything goes just total WTF.
Yeah.
And I knew that needed to be the opening for Cord Killers,
All right.
but then I
let
realized
me-
I needed to know the story of the whole event.
Oh, okay, we can talk about
Let
it.
me give you guys.
Did you see the tweet where Devolver just said, "Hold my beer"?
Hold my beer. Yeah.
Let me give you guys a. So here's what we can do. I got a weird story for just the top. We
Okay.
do that, and then we can kind of do future entertainment, tech, all that sort of stuff if you want.
Sounds good.
That work for you, Bri?
Yep.
This is a good one. This is a good one. And I got to send you the other link because it's strangely topical. If I can find the other link to it.
Are these secret? I'll keep them secret.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna because like I have. All I do is I read the headline. I have not read the. I've not actually read the bot or watched or seen.
Perfect.
Oh, yes. So, I'm sorry. When you said Bri, I realized there's two Bris now.
There are two Bris. Yeah.
Well, that's weird. How did I not notice that? I heard Brian. I knew it was me. I'm like,
Well,
what are you
and
sending to me?
Because you're self-obsessed.
Well, I think also I call you Bri,
Yeah.
which I'm sure has conditioned you a little bit.
Yeah.
And I used to call you Bri. Then I got lazy.
Yeah. You don't have time for that second Bri.
You want to just be Anne?
No, I want to
No.
remember my Twitch login because I don't remember.
Scam School Brian?
Well, I got the
believe.
username.
Okay.
So,
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
password.
Oh, great. Thank you for sending these. Activate Flash. Allow and remember.
Yeah, one of them doesn't need flash, but I couldn't. All right.
But yeah, the Devolver thing was really good, and then they followed it. It was like a 15-minute pre-recorded conference, followed by an 8-hour live stream of like Devolver people and comedians doing a very like Eric Andre type show, playing different games.
That is amazing.
It was amazing.
All right, I'm gonna give you my E3 reaction too when we do this. Right. It's totally, admittedly, it'll be from guy who doesn't get it. So let me state that up front. I remember once I worked for somebody, won't name names, maybe had a foundation funded to investigate paranormal claims.
Okay.
And he was very upset about because he was using some AOL software and it needed PLST files. And he was very upset about the PLST. They're like, why does it even need these? And I'm like, it's a coding thing. Those are special files in the background that accomplish certain functions. It's like an aorta. Who needs an aorta?
I've never used an aorta a day in my life.
Yeah, I was just
All right, I want you to know this: how committed to the cause I am. I'm not gonna actually reset my password so I can be in the chat.
Ooh.
Which, by the way, this is like apparently my default way to interact. That's how I log into everything, seemingly.
Is resetting your password?
Yeah, it's like that's the only way I.
oh my god, I know. And there are things too that's like Fandango, you want to buy tickets? Hey, sign in. That's not your password. I guess I'm a guest again, guys.
Yeah.
Always a guest.
Always a guest,
But
never
you
the
gotta
bride.
get your fan.
And again, the
Dango
other one's like,
points.
we recommend, like, some financial site, we want you to change your password every 6 months. It's just like, oh yeah, because humans have the capacity to remember that
Dude,
many
there was
passwords.
a great interview with Sam Harrison. I've already forgotten the name, the unpronounceable name of the woman who is a computer scientist, who she just gave a lot of counterintuitive advice, like write down your passwords, because the
Yeah.
odds of somebody breaking into your house and looking at your piece of paper vanishingly low.
Yeah.
The odds that one of them that you recycle the passwords all over the place, one of those gets hacked, very high.
Yeah. I mean, don't put it on a sticky note taped to your monitor like in a friggin' Half-Life game.
What are you
But,
saying?
I mean, maybe or do. It's fine.
Ah!
Oh! We'll have to blur that.
Didn't like Leo show his like credit card number or something once?
That sounds totally unlike that responsible pundit.
I don't know about him showing anything.
All right, here. I'll just log in on my Twitch.
Okay.
Oh, we're resetting my password.
Resetting the
Logging
password.
in.
Other E3 stuff. Microsoft's announcement was last night. Bethesda's announcement was last night, and it was so weird because the last 2 years I really feel like they knocked it out of the park, and this year was very different.
From what I heard, it was
not very
just
great.
more.
Well, it was almost all video. Like there was no reason for there to be a stage on that, for there to be a physical show.
Right.
And it was all like kind of expansions and additions to properties that are out. You know, new Dishonored 2 DLC, the Elder Scrolls card game, the Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout VR, Doom VFR. And it's cool. Like if you're into all that stuff, a new Evil Within game.
So Elder Scrolls is doing their Hearthstone.
Oh yeah, no, they've had Elder Scrolls Legends out for a while now. So they're getting I think it's a Skyrim expansion, but it's Elder Scrolls characters, kind of like how Hearthstone is WoW characters.
Yeah.
Do they have the loot hoarder in there?
Do
Do they have Kel'Thuzad?
Probably not.
I mean, they should. They
should
should just,
They're great cards. They're really great cards.
Yeah,
They
if
should-
they don't have them, I don't think they've been playing very long. I guess they're only doing standard ladder, not wild.
Right, no wild.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, sometimes people say, "Oh, use this password holding software or whatever." Like, when you hear about, yeah, so and so had a security breach, like, don't worry, they didn't get the encrypted ones. They got the salts, your user email, your password reminders, and all that. It's like, they should have got that. You guys have one job, to be really, really good at security, and if hackers got away with that stuff,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with the Post-it note, and maybe my Apple Notes or whatever kind of thing, because yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, maybe I'll just hide all my passwords in like a text document in like 14 different subfolders like I used to do my porn.
Yeah.
Well, and I do love LastPass, but there are some sites where it just is a little super wonky. Every time I log in, it will always think it's a new site, and it will always try to ask me to add it, even if it's, not.
That breach.
I love it, but
I mean, that breach was like, and I get like, okay, they don't actually have, if they're doing it right, they don't actually have your password. They use salted passwords, but that's still, if they're getting your password hints, that's probably weaknesses are password hints. If they're getting your password hints and stuff like that, for many users, that makes it easier to break down. If you've already been in a list of exposed passwords and your new password's based on an old one, that's problematic. Mm-hmm. And if you have those vulnerabilities, which means that, like, if they got that means it kind of means like they could get everything on the system, which means that you could put, we can inject a little JavaScript keylogger and get data that LastPass doesn't have.
Sorry. I just realized what I wanted to add will just take us longer on a tangent.
okay. Well, I'm good over here. Are you guys good over there?
Yeah.
Delightful.
All right. Well, then let's take it away in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Adrian Main, and I don't presently have a TV show. I'm joined by Justin Robert Young, who also does not presently have a TV show.
I woke up today and I'm like, wait, what could make my life better? Having a TV show. Oops, I guess I'm doing a life of a gray hellscape. Anyway, who else is on the show?
We got Brian Brushwood.
You bastard. I was in that club, but then this weekend I got an air date for the Escape School TV show.
What?
Yes.
Wait, Justin, are we angry or happy? We angry or happy?
Better than us.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. This would be what, 3 television networks now you've spread your little Brian stink on?
Well, only 2 successfully now, and then I guess whatever appearances count. But yeah, so this is the coolest thing. We've been talking for years. It's one of those things where it's like at every meeting, it's like, oh man, it just seems like Discovery, they own all of Scam School. It seems like we should package it up as a TV show or whatever. And then finally, the right awesome people over at Science are like, okay, let's just do that. Let's try it out and go nuts. So we recorded 2 half-hour pilots, and there's some stuff. I don't know, almost a third of it, I would say, is stuff we shot just for the television show, and then maybe as much as half with all the interstitials and everything, right?
Maybe a third is about right.
Yeah. So basically, we're able to cover 6 or 7 episodes worth of Scam School stuff, and so we're using, some of it is footage that you might have seen. You probably haven't, because most people haven't watched every single episode, but assembled into 2 half-hour pilots. And it's fun, and it moves fast, and it covers a lot of material. And here's the funny part: it's on Saturday. What,
the 24th?
Yeah, Saturday the 24th.
Okay, you ready for this?
At 8 o'clock
And 8:30.
All right, go on.
and 8:30
Setting my DVR right now.
a.m.
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 8. But look at the block you're in. What is it? There's like Outrageous Acts of Science and
Yeah,
other
no,
stuff. Though.
we're right next to Outrageous Acts of Science. But so this is the exciting part.
And
It's-
Soviet doomsday device. also.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
and-
hey, what? No, but you guys are the lead off, right? So I guess they're doing commercials from 2 in the morning until 8. So they're trusting you guys to be the lead off hitters.
getting it back to the beginning. So here's the great part. Part of me, I'm not gonna lie, is super excited because I have nothing but pure good vibes about Saturday morning television watching. It's like I finally joined the pantheon of Turbo Teen and Dungeons and Dragons and the Cubert cartoon as a Saturday morning staple for one pilot. But here's the exciting thing: is, to be honest, I couldn't be happier, because if this is a test, and I would assume that if it does very, very well, there could be a lot more television shows. It's very hard for our tiny little community to move the needle on a primetime television release. But I think we can move that needle pretty hard on an 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m. Saturday morning. And by the way, that's 8 a.m.
There's only
East
one
Coast
feed.
time.
Also, yeah, it's 8 a.m. East Coast,
which means
5 a.m. Pacific
West Coast. So the good news is, when you get in from the club stumbling home, just stay up 1 extra hour and then go to bed.
On over to the Science Channel as you are coming out of your K-hole, because at 99, you will enjoy Brian's show.
So anyway, DVR. Everybody, just right now, DVR that bees, because that would be great if they saw like a 20-fold increase from the like, well, apparently Scam School is the biggest gainer we've ever had. Viewership went up 10 billion%.
So yeah, here's the biggest thing. There's a lot of different factors that go into stuff like this. This was an unconventional way for you guys to get on television from the behind the scenes. There was not any like sit down and pitch and everybody decides like, all right, well, let's let it. Like, they're like, no, we have full rights to this. Brian has his own production company. Let's just box it all up. We'll throw it on television. This is literally just them testing it out. I am super proud because this was you guys doing it all by yourselves. You guys didn't partner with another production company. You guys used footage that was already shot with Scam School and shot a lot of it yourself. So it's something that you should be tremendously proud of. Not only you, Brian, but also Brant and Bryce, who put together everything. So I am super pumped to see this at 5 o'clock in the goddamn morning.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and by the way, I was thinking of clever ways. This is probably more of an after things thing to talk about, but I wanna do a live stream with the whole family in pajamas eating breakfast cereal. We can all have a giant Saturday morning cereal. We'll call it Breakfast of Scampions is what we could call it.
But you have to eat shrimp scampi.
Yes, we're having shrimp skimples.
you're
and
actually
shrimp
gonna make
scampi.
shrimp scampi. Yeah, butter and lemon.
Well, get ready for me to bang the drum on this really, really hard. I was shocked at how fast the turnaround was, where they're all like, because we got approval on the final cut, and then they're like, yeah. And so I'm thinking like, I was assuming television would move at the snail's pace, but instead, like 3 days later, they're like, yeah, you're going to be on in 2 weeks from
Yeah,
today.
we got this date a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
So that's pretty weird.
It's pretty exciting though. DVR, that stuff. Let's just get bigger from here.
And the funny thing is that, like, now in the world of cable and stuff, your actual, and I'm going to use part of the phrase, the real scam school, gets higher numbers than many cable shows.
Yeah.
Cable numbers have plummeted so much now that, like, getting a couple 100,000 views on a cable show is actually considered a big win, and so it's sort of this, what a world we're in right now, where you're like, yes, hey, I'll go put this on Science Channel. We'll see if it works, but I don't want that to interfere with the main thing, Modern Rogue in Scam School. That's sort of the awesome place that you're in, where the end goal is not a TV show. The TV show is an ancillary thing that you do to the main product.
Well, and that's the exciting stuff is, think about this. Let's say these two pilots do well and they come back with a big order, and then we're able to always lean on some of the old stuff, but also put some of the new stuff in there. So that essentially, like, what if the television show became nothing but this gigantic advertisement to funnel people into, the real back catalog? Because when you watch a TV show, they're like, oh, that's really good. I wish there was more. Well, guess what, sucker? We got 500 plus episodes of this waiting for you. And then from there to lead them into this community and to the Modern Rogue, I don't know. This would be a very, very important arm of the whole operation if it does well. And that all begins with everybody just program your DVR, have your parents program their DVR, or better yet, do that for them, because most of them probably don't know how to do it.
Yes, you want to get them on board with that technology of recording, that sort of programming that's not like, automatically, there. And gentlemen, I'm a little bit alarmed. I'm a little bit concerned.
Uh-oh, why?
Why?
I would turn my camera around and I would show you, but I've actually moved all my furniture in front of the windows. I've barricaded my doors. I've sealed myself inside of here with a bunch of Soylent, some water, and you talk about something for a while, maybe you make fun of a public figure, and then all of a sudden they reply to you on a tweet, and you're like, oh my gosh, they know that I'm real.
Yeah, that happened to me with Jessica Jones, like the character. Whoever runs the Jessica Jones Twitter didn't like that I said that. I thought it was silly.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I think I'm in that position kind of thing.
Well, I mean, you can't be that scary.
I forgot. One time I got yelled at by Martin Starr, the actor. It was like as Party Down was ending, and I was like, that was a great final episode of Party Down. And he hit me back on Twitter and was like, hey, we don't have a decision on whether or not we're renewed yet. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, I was saying I liked your show.
Yeah. Also, I ran into that cast at an In-N-Out. And I walk in there, and they're all just sitting there at a table. It's like the whole cast, like they just got done with a catering job. Like, I look over, and I did this. Like, wait, did I just walk into an episode? I'm like, hey guys, I really love your show. Like, cool, man, cool. And this was like at the point when like Lynch was leaving, and the show was probably on the verge of not making it back, kind of thing. And so they're like, I'm like, yeah, I love the show and all that. And it's kind of like this, yeah, where were you before? So they were cool, but it was just like the last thing they wanted to see was a fanboy like, hey guys, I like your show.
So all right, but this is all chump change. Brian's example was fictional. I think we could probably still take Martin Starr if we really kind of started doing some push-ups. But you seem really shook by who you pissed off on Twitter.
That's not on Twitter, it's on this very show. And I just want to warn you, you guys could be next.
To have you piss us off, or like, are you threatening us with a possible pissing?
No, I'm saying this threat that may be directed at me could change focus and focus on you guys.
Oh my God.
It is. We've stepped into the perfect scenario for the Weird Things movie. If they ever, when they make the movie, I mean, after we're horribly murdered, and they decide to do the movie of the Weird Things thing that, if right now like to be comedic, and then it's like, oh no, it's just dark and tragic. It's dark and tragic, and it's a cliche plot. I will give you this: it is a cliche plot.
I mean, okay, we know the old cliche of Neil deGrasse Tyson hunting down independent weird podcasts and crushing them beneath his boot heel. That old trope. But I mean, surely he's too busy to do that to us.
It's not him. So I'm going to give you a scenario.
I got a couple things I want to get off my chest.
So tell me if you've ever seen this storyline before. Skeptic gets invited into some sort of supernatural paranormal investigation, and then
becomes a believer.
Yeah, it's real, and then he becomes the target or whatever.
Sure.
Okay.
Isn't that the story with one of the UFO investigators over in England? There's a guy who became a believer. I forget.
Right, it's every story. It's every story.
Yes.
So,
You might have read it in a little book called The Bible.
A bunch of skeptics get converted.
all right, and I may be drawing connections a little bit loosely, but you have to be safe now. You can't in these day and age. This day and age, there's just no way you can't just rush to judgment and not be glad that you did it.
Mm-hmm.
In the 24-hour news cycle, if you don't have an opinion right away, you may have to change it a day later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that of course would be disastrous.
Yeah. Okay. So, I don't know if you know where I live, but I live in a place called Southern California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I live in a town called Burbank. And perhaps one of the reasons that I live here is I grew up, as you may know, I grew up in Oregon. And then when I became aware of the threat of Bigfoot, my family moved to Florida.
Yeah.
Because
there's no monsters in Florida.
Yes. And then when I became aware of skunk ape in Florida, I decided it was time to go to California because it was just the proximity was just too much, guys.
Okay, now hold on. I think I know where this is headed, but Monkey Island got paved over. Yeah, those monkeys are all gone, right?
I know. It was monkeys. I mean, it was pretty clearly monkeys. I actually did research to find out because some of the monkeys went missing. Like, is there a population of monkeys somewhere? But point is, I thought I was safe here. I mean, I'd heard some stories and stuff, and we looked up. Remember the legends of like some terror lizards and stuff that turned out to be bogus and all that.
Well, you get the errant, random, what appears to be a missile floating off the coast.
Oh my god! Oh yeah. So I thought I was safe. I thought I'd escaped. I can't even speak right. The giant simians, and then I open up my news and I get a report of this, and it's it's near La Canada, Flint Ridge, which is just a few miles away from where I live.
I mean, don't leave us hanging here. We have to look.
If
we
Bryce
need to
has a
rally
video.
the troops. We can
I'm
defend
sorry,
you.
guys. I just need to.
All right, so we're waiting. All right, here we go. It's a mystery creature.
Just off the
KTLA.
210 freeway, there may be something different, really different, hiding in the trees.
Cell phone footage.
Who else seen a
Jacob
leprechaun?
Gardner often takes a stroll in the woods during his lunch break, but last week, while walking by himself in La Crescenta,
At
Camera
first,
footage through the
I heard
weeds.
a bunch of strange noises up in the trees. Figured it was just some types of birds or something like that.
then
crackhead.
a still uneasiness came over him.
I knew
Still at ease.
I had a feeling that something was out there and kind of watching me.
Jake pulled out his phone and began shooting video. At first, nothing out of the ordinary.
So confused.
But when he checked the
What?
footage a second time,
You can definitely see a torso and four limbs. moving
all
around,
right.
swimming around
There's,
there. It gets
What? Wait, what?
Pause. This footage is fairly unambiguous. It really does appear to be maybe a monkey swinging or walking on a branch.
I don't even know what we're looking at.
Break-gating is what they do.
Pause that.
Huh.
I don't even know what the hell we're looking at.
I mean, it's clearly a thing walking in what appears to be the sky or up above.
Climbing through the trees.
It's with a very simian-looking gait. It definitely looks monkey-like, but it definitely looks like it's walking as though as though like because the camera's blown out, maybe there's a hill and you can't really see the hill. You just see the dark figure walking on the hill. So it looks like the dark figure's in the sky or among the branches of the trees.
I think it's climbing through the trees, Brian.
I mean, okay, I'll take your word on that. But that's a weird gate to climb on a tree. Oh yeah, no, it's not. You could clearly see him grabbing
looks
branches.
kind of a green monkey.
Well, I think the green is like a reflection of the undergrowth.
Oh, but I like the green monkey.
The green monkey.
I'm terrified of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, so it's like a crazy ass green monkey running around.
Yeah, but I don't really even get a sense of how big those branches are, or how big the. Yeah.
I mean, Brian, you want to know what else is green?
The sweet money we get from Patreon.com.
Well, I mean that too, but also leprechaun.
Oh, got it. It could be a leprechaun.
So we have something here. I'm going to tie this.
Told him to climb up the tree and play a leprechaun.
And act a leprechaun.
I'm going to throw out a theory here, and Brian touched upon it, and that is that, you know, we talked about my adventures exploring the remnants of Monkey Island, which was there's a lost civilization, a tourist attraction, as some describe it, of monkeys in Los Angeles. People weren't quite sure on where the location was, and I found the foundations. I found the remnants of that next to the highway where it was, which has now been expanded and like gone. But I'm glad I got some photos of that. And my question was, where did the monkeys go? Because the monkeys fled at some point throughout the life of Monkey Island, and this is one of those regions that you look at on a map of where they could have spread to, and it's possible. It is possible. These could be remnants or lost citizens of Monkey Island.
The secret grandchildren of Monkey Island.
Or it's Bigfoot, and he's going to murder me.
Either way, dude, congratulations. You're going to be the first of us to die at the hands of a mythical creature.
Yes, except for Alex.
Except for who?
I thought we agreed we don't talk about Alex.
Well, Alex was eaten by a creature that devours you and sucks you out of time and this universe.
Yeah, sucks to his asthma.
Yeah, and that's why you're on the show now, Justin. You replaced him. But we didn't want to tell you about it because...
It doesn't look like anything to me.
Yeah. So anyhow, there you go, guys. That's a
really good mystery, Andrew. Like, because there is a plausible theory in it, and even if, like, in this case, the most likely, most scientific theory, I don't know about most scientific, I guess the most scientific, most likely is some kind of visual artifact, although it really doesn't look like it. Next up is monkeys in Southern California.
I live 10 minutes away from there. I can hop in my car right now and go investigate this.
That's awesome. That's a great one. Good find.
It's kind of a tempting thing to like, hey guys, let me go.
I know, yeah. Just go on the lookout. I mean, I guess if you were trying to like identify monkeys in that area, though, like there's probably ways that you can, like, is that dude's out there just like, oh my God, what's that rustling? Phone up, swinging around, right?
Well, Justin, you do know we do have the world's greatest monkey whisperer on the show here.
We do.
You've seen it. You've seen it firsthand.
I have. I've witnessed your power. I feel like you owe it to yourself to go out there.
Brian, I don't know if you know this, but yeah, I do have. That is my superpower. I am a monkey whisperer.
Look, are you just plugging the fact that you have a surprise cameo in the War for the Planet of the Apes?
No, we went a long time ago. We took a trip to the monkey jungle in Miami. Our buddy Chris Kenner got us really cool access into the back area and all that there, and just to say, like, I could get the little squirrel monkeys to come running out and climb all over me. I got the orangutan to respond in sign language. She loved me, even though people said she doesn't do that. I was able to get the other monkeys to respond. It was just I speak their language, and I don't want to brag, but it's just my gift.
That's
And
amazing.
Listen, I've seen it. I've seen it with my own two eyes.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, you want to know what else is green?
Perfect segue.
Leprechauns.
The sweet money you give us on patreon.com/weird things.
Yeah, man. Join the nearly 400 patrons that keep us on the regs, always on the regular. Every single Monday afternoon at around 1:30 Central Time, we gather together to give you all the weird we can muster. And if you guys enjoy the show, why don't you kick us $1? And not only will you get the show, but you'll get after things on your very own feed so that you can enjoy everything
Get it
and feel
early.
smug and better.
You get after things early.
That's right.
Yeah, you get early and
So
special
yeah, go ahead.
questions. And
Go check us out. Patreon.com/weird things.
Two quick space things before we go on to the major topic of the show here. One is that there was a little under the radar announcement. One is SpaceX. Elon Musk says that they're nearing their testing phases right now for the Falcon Heavy, which is going to be 3 Falcon 9 rockets strapped together, which will be the largest rocket to take off since the Saturn V.
Say it again. Say it again slower. Say it again slower. Just let me savor it.
3 Falcon 9 rockets strapped together. 27 engines, Brian. Okay,
So much power.
all right, 27 engines, and they're on task so far, maybe for an October-November launch. Now, again, this thing has been pushed off for years. Part of that, though, is the Falcon 9 itself. The power of that rocket has improved considerably. SpaceX just did a launch recently, an Air Force launch that was originally going to be a Falcon Heavy launch because the Falcon 9 wouldn't be powerful enough. Now it is. Meanwhile, the cool thing is that the Air Force, in like some committee hearing, announced that, oh yeah, and by the way, yeah, we've got a launch in August where the Falcon 9 existing rocket is going to be launching the X-37. That's the Air Force's little mini, unmanned shuttle that they use to test stuff. So in August, SpaceX is launching that. Normally it was, I want to say it was just ULA who does that. But anyhow, they're going to be launching that, which SpaceX wasn't at liberty to say, hey, we're doing this, which means it's been planned for a couple of years. So kind of cool stuff there to pay, to be watching. We could have some really, really cool things going on. And, we've got another reusable launch coming up in a week or so. But
That's the biggest thing about the Air Force news is once SpaceX proved itself that it's reliable, and you start to get into that kind of military contract money, like now it's very unlikely that SpaceX kind of ever goes away, right? Like, because there's always when you're talking about that kind of cash, you're talking about just an insane amount of money for what you're doing, because you are paying. These contracts are coming in paying for reliability, and very often it is at tremendous expense.
Well, the question came in like, was ULA or were they upset that they couldn't bid on that launch? Well, the purpose of that launch was for the Air Force to have an alternative to the launch that I think the Delta that they use already. So that was they're free to bid on it if they had some other new rocket system that they've, we didn't tell you we've got this other rocket, which they don't. So the idea was to not just have one launch provider they relied upon, which is what we've been doing for the last 20 years, and primarily before that, it was just a couple of them. They became a monopoly known as ULA. So, it is a very positive step, because it used to be that ULA had the monopoly, and even the rules kind of made it you could only sort of use ULA. With the Air Force in particular, with their contracts, and SpaceX sued to say, hey, you should change this up. We should be able to apply for being able to be rated for this and all that. And now that that's happened, I was saying before, there are people within the Air Force that are really excited about the idea of using SpaceX, and this is very clear now because we see what's happening with the idea that they're going to be using it for the X-37 tests. And I'm gonna just throw a little bit of rumor out there. SpaceX is going to be announcing their plans for the ITS, their next generation rocket system, what they call a scoped version, which could imply a scaled down version, which might make it more feasible to produce it using existing SpaceX infrastructure instead of building new factories and stuff. And it would not surprise me that not that they say they have any kind of agreement in place, but there might be a commercial interest, or interest rather, from the Air Force in a smaller scale version of that because of the usability of that.
So I assume eventually each of those stages on the heavy will land themselves. But how fast are we expecting to see that, do you think?
The boosters, they may try to recover all of them on this launch.
What? 3
Yeah.
simultaneously landing chips? Well,
Quote
I'll be.
Elon-
I live to see it as I live and breathe.
Yeah, to quote Elon Musk, it's like, well, we're either going to crash them in the ocean one way or the other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, all
Just
right.
Land, golly, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be crazy. So your first 2 would be able to land probably back on the pad because they're the first. They would be spin their fuel first, and then the next one would probably have to do a barge landing.
That's so cool. So cool.
And they also plan to the upper stage, which there's a lot of challenges there. They say they plan at some point to try to land an upper stage, which is going to be extremely problematic for a number of reasons because the bell nozzle on there is designed for function in space and whatnot. A lot of complications there, but I think that they've learned so much about reusability that we're going to probably see that in a next generation rocket via the ITS, where built from the ground up for full reusability, where the Falcon 9, that was something they incrementally added. So.
Dude.
That's insane. That's just crazy. And what's crazier is that we're not just like doing a full backflip because we've seen so much of this incrementally.
Well, that's the exciting part is they got a fleet. They have a fleet of reusable space parts, and it's getting bigger and bigger. That's amazing.
Yeah. But I'm not here to talk about this, folks. So let's talk about the future of entertainment. Let's talk a little bit about we had the big video game expo going on here in town.
Well, this is how, as I understand it, like E3 begins today, but everybody does their dog and pony show before E3 officially opens, so they can be the buzz of E3. Is that appropriate?
It actually technically opens tomorrow, but all of the companies get the big press conferences out of the way early, so that when the show opens,
And I'll tell you
all
what,
the stuff can be out there.
it's astonishing that it took a good 20 years for us to get to a point where, like when I went to E3 back in 1997 the first time, it was because there was simply no other way to see the games. There was no international distribution via the internet. And so it makes sense that now it's more a spirit of E3, it's a season rather than an event, basically.
Well, and I would say that what killed Comdex was in many ways the internet. Was that when you're a tech company initially, how do we tell people? Well, we'll all get together and we'll tell our buyers and suppliers and all that. What works for E3 in many ways, what this is, one, it's a consumer expo, but it is a place where a lot of developers and people get together to figure out what the heck they're going to be coding for and doing that. And that is kind of exciting because it means there's a longevity to it. It's like there is we go there. One, you go there to show off your games, journalists and stuff, but also you send some of your tech people and stuff there because we got to figure out when somebody unveils a new piece of hardware, and like Microsoft did, how the heck you're going to program for this thing and what you're going to do. So, guys, talk a little bit. And I'm going to say, here was my reaction. Like, I watched the Microsoft parts of the Microsoft unveiling, and I'm like, okay, it's a better Xbox. And
for the record though, it's like for Andrew Main, all of E3 is like Heroin Con 5000. Now Xbox announces even better heroin. It gets you really high.
Remember, I'm a guy that will buy game consoles because I'm fascinated by the hardware. Like I have in storage, I have a Nintendo 64 because I was fascinated by the idea that they're able to take a Cray and condense that down in there and put that into that. I have a Wii and I got the Wii and I just took this thing apart, looked at it, and looked at the controllers and stuff. Like I'm more fascinated by the hardware and stuff. And I played like Zelda on that. I'm like, yeah, this is amazing.
This
You can
heroin
put it away
is
now,
really good.
you know?
It gets you really high.
Yeah.
So I have a confession to make. E3 used to be the season I lived for the most, but this year just happened to be during my family reunion. So I've only heard everything peripherally. It's weird. We kind of, just like I stopped going to E3 because I realized all the best parts would be curated and filtered and posted on internets and then discussed on forum boards and Reddits and so on. Now I'm at the point where it's like I don't even want to watch the raw input of all that. I'm going to wait to just hear, what are the stuff to be most excited about. So Justin, you're probably the most plugged in.
Absolutely not. But I do know this. The decision that was made, I think, certainly by Microsoft and to another lesser extent by Sony, was that they basically want to get off the idea. They want to break everybody of the idea that consoles run in 5+ year cycles, and that when we come out with a console, everybody buys it, and then the only thing that happens from there is maybe things get a little cheaper. What they want you to do is make this more, especially in a world where we're dropping hundreds of dollars every year on new phones and tablets and watches, that why can't your console be on a more realistic year-to-year cycle? So now every year they are going to give you the incrementally better version of the Xbox and the PlayStation. And that's what you're right, Andrew. This was just kind of a better Xbox, but that's now their strategy.
Open bio, Weird Things gaming coverage for two of the hosts only play Hearthstone. That is not true.
I mean, it's getting to be pretty true. Like my street cred in video game land is softer these days.
Yeah.
So Bryce, what's up with E3?
Hey, I think you definitely have a point in that the console manufacturers would like to be more iterative on a yearly basis,
Closer to a smartphone kind of generation.
Yeah, but I think you have the trouble of consumers understanding that paradigm and finding value in it, because they announced the $500 Xbox One X, which is a terrible name, and
yeah.
And
That's the best part, is like, let's have a confusing name to begin with. Let's have a bad name to begin with, and then just add the word X to the end of the already bad name.
Well, it's fine if that's just the only one, but the other normal Xbox is called the Xbox One S.
Oh, geez. All right.
So it's kind of a Wii U situation. But so I think you have people who, gamers who are not necessarily in for that yearly commitment of price, especially when PC gaming has a little more longevity and customization in that. And I think right now both Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo all need games. I think they all need new games, new IPs, and if it's going to be hard to sell people a console if there are not good exclusives or properties that people are interested in.
See, but I think the idea is not necessarily for you to say. I think ultimately Microsoft and Sony would love if everyone's like, oh, cool, I'll sell my Xbox and I'll get $150 from it, and that'll subsidize me buying the new thing that'll be iteratively faster. What I think is more realistic for them is saying, let's not have just one piece of machinery that we constantly have to discount year on year on year as we get further into the life cycle. Let's always sell it for $500 and add the little bells and whistles that come along with whatever's available to us every year. So that way you're not buying 3-year-old hardware in the same way that, like, they want to break you of that. It is always the best that you are buying for that price.
The upside that we've reached in sort of the console situation, particularly when it comes to Microsoft and Sony, is that you had 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there was a lot of what do we need the architectures to be, like radical changes in architecture. Sony with cell tech, in that, and Xbox going like, do we really just want to put a version of Windows into here and do that, and the pros and cons of that. But ultimately that sort of, and then also you had to, with consoles, you had to make a lot more sacrifices because you're trying to do a lot more things on chip and on board. But as these things have become more PC-like, it's easier to say, okay, we can just improve the GPU here. We'll upgrade the GPU, and that way we're not going through a radically different, you don't have to change the way you program it and all that. And then on the development side, between Unity and Unreal and all that, and just, the game engine side of, those things are in an amazing place as far as usability, the ability to sort of, program for them and get them out cross-platform, et cetera. Obviously, if you want to be super, super cutting edge, you're going to be doing your own sort of stuff. But we have reached, I think, a really nice area of stability where you can say, yeah, I don't see a radical change for the next 10 or 15 years because even these systems support VR. They have this sort of stuff native to them. So, And now I get the idea incremental. I get the idea of like, yeah, maybe we could just say, yeah, every year we'll just put a faster GPU in there or increase the RAM or whatever. And, 4K is going to be good for another 5 or 6 years. And then you're going to want to start pushing a video standard that supports VR.
And
I also think that, yeah, sorry, Bryce, but I also think that part of it is kind of future proofing for the fact that PC gaming is here. Like, it's not coming. It's here in a way that it's never really been before, where the players that are controlling a lot of this market, including Steam, and the fact that you have so many different boxes for so many different things that are just flying out of China. You can put hardware together and sell it for an attractive price, and people are more used to those kinds of interfaces. They need to future-proof to say, no, we are the box company. And right now you think of us as a console that's separate from a PC, but everything is kind of merging to one point, and they want to be they want you to buy a Microsoft box that solves your gaming needs in the same way that you solve your other needs with very specific devices.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other sort of hurdle in getting to an incremental sort of release schedule is kind of avoiding like the iPadization of game consoles, of saying, oh, well, this works on the 2015 Xbox, but not the 2014 Xbox. And then you suddenly have to have graphs and charts of what stuff works and where it doesn't, or you constantly have to be supporting a lowest common denominator that doesn't ever move up, which is the big point of having entire console generations. I think it'll be tough, but I do think that the console manufacturers will try to get there. I mean, Steam tried to do that with the Steam box idea a couple years ago, but I think because that was so heavily based on Linux, you didn't get any traction on that. But
yeah,
but with Microsoft really investing in the Windows Store and their Play Anywhere program, I think that especially that confluence of Windows and Xbox will be Microsoft's big pillar.
So the point was made in the chat room, but that VR was sort of downplayed, and VR is in this very interesting place right now where we need sort of we need a next step improvement in hardware for certain, and that's we're seeing that, like the rumors are like, yes, now that we know that, hey, yeah, this could be a thing, it'd be a cool thing. One of the problems a lot of early VR demos, and this sort of made a point of on Silicon Valley last night, was people were watching these things on really high-end gaming rigs and going, this is incredible. But when you look at what the average person had to use to power that stuff, you're like, and you could get it, you're like, it's a little, it's like, so. But we've seen, Moore's Law directly addresses transistor count and how we're going to affect, what's going to the speed of GPUs. We just saw last week with with Apple, with the Worldwide Developers Conference, they showed now they support a breakout unit for a GPU, a standalone unit for a GPU processor, just so you could do, VR or higher end gaming and stuff from developers. They've put out their developer kits now for VR and AR because they're like, no, we think this is there. And I think that Apple's a very good canary in the coal mine, or place to watch, because they pay incredible attention into hardware pipelines and understanding what chipsets are going to be there and whatever. Oh, this is very cool. We're watching a demo somebody made just using in a couple, just right out a day or two after the whole Apple unveiled their AR. It's a version of Tilt Brush, but in, your environment using on an iPhone. So you're watching what looks, kind of like sort of a spray paint version of the game Tilt Brush, which you play in VR, which is really cool. But this is just using a standard shipping iPhone, and somebody's doing it in their kitchen.
Yeah. I know that historically it's not a good position to be the guy who says, I don't get it. But with the iPhone AR, I really am having struggling. I mean, it's very, very cool, and it can do a lot of things, but so far none of the demos have struck me as like, oh man, I need that in my life.
Well, you're watching. These are literally people who opened up the dev kit a day before, Brian.
Sure. Well, but usually there's some kind of distant what we can get out of it, and I do understand if you're wearing Google Glass as we hoped it was going to be, overlay over reality on at all times. Yes to all that, but looking through a window that you keep, a magic window you keep in your pocket. That is more challenging for me to see what outside of video games.
If you're asking me, like, do I think that our main form of interactions are going to be holding up our phones and walking around and doing it? I don't think so. But I think that we saw there were hints that we were going to get the iPad in the iPhone code before the iPad came out. You looked in there, you're like, yeah, they think there's some potential for a larger format, that maybe tablets, really are the way of the future, like Microsoft thought, and a lot of people thought, and Apple sort of said, we think we know at the right point where the hardware works. And I think that what this tells me is that, yes, they are going to, and I do think that, we will go to a glasses thing, but Google Glass was such a horrible experiment and just ruined, the idea of AR in many ways, because it was not that. And the problem with HoloLens was this cool premise. Then people go through it and they look through this and like this small little box, like, wait, this is it? And it's like, that's not what we want. We want this, oh my God, it's all around me. And that's what I believe Apple is trying to work towards, to say, yes, that's what people want. So,
to be honest, Brian, I look at these demos and I see you can do a totally scalable and far more affordable, deployable at a moment's notice, like version of the Go game.
Oh, yeah.
You can walk into all the places that we would normally put actors in Austin on 6th Street, except now we can have the best performances with the best actors sitting in those seats, that we know that we've modeled out. And now you are having a silent experience going through an immersive world in your real world.
Yeah, I think that I think it's going to be conceptually, we're going to change the kind of concepts of games that we do. I'm very, very bullish on this, because I look at where my interest levels are on it and saying like, oh, it's not that I'm always putting a thing in front of me. Maybe it's not, but maybe it's like, hey, let's do the haunted house game in your own house.
Do you want to know what I think would go absolutely like wildfire on this? Is imagine a social network targeted to teens that allowed you to place physical objects in it. Like if you're a member of this tribe, let's say, 7th graders, whatever.
Before you get to your idea, and I'm sure it's going to be brilliant, I just imagine that you just go full dad. It's like, all right, imagine a world targeted to teens where they're cleaning their room and not leaving things on the floor.
No, but like imagine if all the students had, knew that this room was a place where you could find this stuff, or so-and-so set this up to create a huge, I don't know, filthy. I'm trying to keep it family friendly. But then meanwhile, the teachers didn't know because they weren't in that network and couldn't see all that stuff. Like having a secret world on top of the world, I suspect would appeal to teenagers.
I think to a lot of people, Brian. I'm going to say yes, and like there's a cool demo here where they turn the floor into this ocean where you're watching these ships going to battle, and I'm like, oh, dude, if I was hanging out with friends, like, let's just play battle, it's a different kind of gaming. It's not sort of the thing you play for 3 hours. I don't know what it'll be. But I think to think about is, and the important thing is, the room sensing technology, all this is running on of a stock iPhone.
Yeah.
Think of what you have to have your setup. Like you play with the Vive, and man, Vive, I've had to set those up a couple of times for people. It's a pain to get the lighthouse fixed right and all this sort of stuff. Oculus, you still need your thing in front of you. And the better technologies out there, which Google's been working on and whatever, still are like their room sensing tech. You need hardware to add on to your phone, but this is a stock iPhone running this, which means I'm sure we're going to see, and I don't know what the latency, that could be a problem, but I am sure we're going to see somebody is going to say, hey, I don't have to use it for AR. I could use it for VR, put this into a headset and not have any cables. And the thing we talked about, like just look around and see stuff. We know that Apple is working behind the scenes for the next gen chips to get to that point. And that's the problem. People get like, oh, the Samsung Gear, the Google Gear, that's so cool. I put it in here, you put it in there. And it's like, yeah, it's a Viewmaster. You can spin around. You take a step forward, you're still standing there.
God, oh man, old people are going to get so annoyed when youngsters walking around, you're like, take that thing off, look me in my real eyes. What are you doing? Always going around your own world?
And as we watch the Gorgon, screaming at us, whatever.
Yeah, exactly, right? You paint different faces on all your friends, so it's like you don't see them looking dorky with a thing on their face. You see them as a, majestic werewolf or whatever.
Now, I saw, this is a weird tangent, but over the weekend or over this past week, Apple put out their first episode of Planet of the Apps. Their like Shark Tanky type show. It's not very good. But one of one of the
Justin's ducking, so I'm only hearing what sounds like a gecko getting stepped on.
No, that's all that happened. I just made a like.
Okay.
So one of the apps on there is this. I don't remember the name of it now, but it's a like furniture shopping app, and you would go to the app and you could see the furniture from these different suppliers, and you could, with their own technology, AR put it into your room in real space.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and so they're selling it. They're pitching it to Gwyneth Paltrow and Will.i.am and Chuck Vaynerchuk, whatever.
I would like to think Gary Vee has a secret brother named Chuck Vaynerchuk.
How much Chuck could a Vaynerchuk chuck if a Vaynerchuk could chuck apps?
And
We couldn't get Gary, but we got Chuck.
but so he's selling it to the panel as like, no one else is doing this. No one has the technology to do markerless AR like this.
Right.
And it blows my mind that that's the first episode of this brand new show that is outdated by Apple itself 1 week beforehand.
Yeah. Wait. Wait. So the show acts like everyone's like, this is a brilliant idea. Nobody is doing this.
The guy who was selling it, and then Jessica Alba picked it up, and so they go and incubate it, and but all of this is to say that their kind of larger play solution was interior mapping. The idea, kind of like a Project Tango style thing of like, we get people to use the technology and we can own the interior maps that they take of public spaces or what have you.
So now you have a data play that will be basically you have the most up-to-date Google Maps type thing. Yeah.
And I thought of all the things in that was actually pretty interesting, because this is something that ARKit could possibly play into, a mapping element, not just necessarily an augmenting alone play. I don't know.
Right.
Because we haven't heard anything about Project Tango for years.
Yeah, there's been like one phone shipped with it, and the problem was that it was this. But Project Tango was Google's, I think it was offshoot of Jupyter or whatever, which was a project which is hardware that makes it very, like multiple cameras, that makes it very easy to create 3D maps of the environments around you, and it's a very, very cool kind of tech. But it was, why are you paying? It was one of these things where it was hard for people to sort of understand why you would pay more for this. And it's going to be one of these things, eventually every phone will do this. Like Apple's now building the ARKit, whatever, every phone will do it. And it'll be like, well, yeah, obviously it can do this, but why, but you're in that early stage, like, why do I need to have extra hardware to do this? Well, the hardware costs will fall and you'll just put it on a chip anyways, or you put your cameras out, or you figure out how to interpolate that through software. And, it's interesting to look at how ARKit works in the background, because what it does is it tries to find planes and it tries to estimate size of those things. The really cool thing, if you look at ARKit, if you go back and look at one of the demos, if you can pull up one of the videos, and this is a thing that gets lost on a lot of people, they watch like, yeah, cool, it's floating in space. It's actually figuring out where the shadows go based upon the real shadows in your environment, not some computer simulated shadows, but it looks at where the lights are coming from. So if you have a strong light source in the background, as you move towards the object, you notice that the light gets brighter towards the back or whatever. That's an amazing sort of design thing. So we're looking at a BB-8, and he casts what looks like just as real of a shadow as somebody near him. If you look at the light sources on him, the light sources match what we assume are coming from the environment, and that's cool.
So, once we've had a taste of AR enhanced, always on, superior world over the world, we're just until we get implants in our eyes, we're all just going to wear various degrees of ridiculous sunglasses for a while, right?
No. Hold on, wait a minute. Also, how fast was that from like, hey, I don't want to be the guy who says I don't get it, but I don't get it.
Wait,
now you're like, we're all doomed to the Geordie LaForge glasses.
To be clear, I said I don't. It is challenge. I see where the end of this goes, and it's very obvious to me where the end of this goes. We are in a very kludgy middle step of this, holding up a magic window, and usually to make those things survive, there's some tangible killer app that it's like, okay, it's not the thing I want at the end, but I do want this part right now. And that's the part where there aren't very many obvious plays that excite
I will
me.
tell you, I've said this before. My opinion, The thing we get is first it's on our phones, our tablets. Oh, that's pretty cool. Then we get the better goggles. And by the way, the app is Apple is going to support the HTC Vive and all that, just in case.
Oh, awesome.
You get the next step, which is the better phones and all that have the better chips and the hardware, and it looks really good. And then we get the good glasses and the standalone glasses, all that. A technology that is an amazing piece of technology that is we all know what it is, we see it, but we haven't thought about what happens when it gets into our house, is video projection and projection mapping. And we're now in an era where there are going to be cars coming out with laser headlights. Okay, you're actually at the point where you can use lasers for consumer lighting, super extremely bright, in where you need them to be. They can actually map out where they don't want to be. If you're driving towards another car, it won't project the light at that car. So you start putting in, as these things fall considerably in price, you put several of these bulbs in your living room or around your house, and that might even be the way you just think about lighting things. And then it maps your entire place, and then you can do line of sight projection mapping. So you can projection map all this around you. And so if I look at a wall, it can become an AR wall, and I can actually use eye tracking to create 3D.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I think you mesh them all together. So if you need I just put in this, this fern and all this in this kitchen cabinet and it's dark over here. Like, I'll just put a bulb in the corner here. And we're looking at a really cool, demonstration of just, projection mapping in a room with these cubes and stuff. That's what I think is going to be the big thing, is you're just going to start putting these projection mapping bulbs into your place. So if you don't have you'll get a better experience with the glasses. You'll get a better experience with better 3D, whatever, but you can do 3D with eye tracking and projection mapping onto any surface around you. And I can have my couch in front of my wall, but if I'm using laser projection mapping, I can create an image, like we talked about before, where the Coke can stretched out across, the table that looks from one angle like just a normal sized Coke can.
Right.
You could do that with projection mapping and I could have you look at a very uneven background, but I can projection map to give you what looks like a solid rectangle or a movie picture.
Right.
So.
No, that's very cool.
So that's just my thinking, is that's where it'll go. That'll be the step, so you don't have to have the glasses on your head. You just, you see it in front of you. So.
Yeah, then I guess the only downside is that it's not private, which is an aspect to the AR.
Well, it'd be in your home. I mean, there's your computer monitor in your home,
right.
But remember too, what you can do with projection mapping is you can do it. You can design it to be extremely line of sight. So, there's a thing called foveation, which is, as we go further away from the center of our field of vision, we have far much less detail. And so if you want really good compression algorithms like in VR, we'll often use that, where if you're looking here, we're only really worried about a lot of detail here. So yes, it won't be truly, but in your own environment, if you and I were talking to each other in the same room, we'd be getting very different images.
Yeah.
So anyhow, speaking of images, I want you to imagine an image. You've been desperately clinging to a tiny train.
Yeah.
As a mad chimpanzee, maybe genetically engineered, maybe robot, maybe we don't know what, is the engineer at the helm of it, races.
Getting a phone call, playing jaunty music.
Madly towards a mountain.
Well, let's find out what happened last week.
I'm getting to that. As we're
previously on
take it over. Let's do the rest of it. It's fine.
Bryce, hands are not for hurting. Let's have a conversation.
Smoke starts emitting. Fire, ignition, missile shooting straight at you.
It rips his hand off. Please tell me he has no hand.
Yeah, it breaks his wrist, snaps his hand off. Brian has no hand.
Damn it.
You're heading straight towards the mountain. Next thing you know, it's too late to jump off. The train's too late to slow down.
That was amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
For the audio listeners, in that recap, it was just us, and then suddenly there was footage of looked like principal photography of us actually on the kids' train headed towards the mountain.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Andrew.
No, you go ahead. Journey Quest, you got it. You're in charge now.
All right, that was my bad. Sometimes we don't.
It's all in your hands. You're driving this. You're driving it.
No, it's my bad. I apologize. I apologize to you.
It's fine. I get it. Because it's fine. I cede control. I cede control. I get it. There's a coup. I get
No
it.
need
Well,
to
hold on.
do
I
that.
turn to Justin and I say, I feel as if some ethereal, malevolent force has
Our God has left us.
vanished from our life.
God has
And so
abandoned.
I hold up my stump and I concentrate, picturing blood vessels and tendons and bones growing out of it. And to my astonished face,
Nothing
hand-
happens because nobody
Nothing
wants to watch
happens.
somebody else
Nothing
play a completely
happens.
open world game.
All right,
We're
nothing
sorry,
happens.
Andrew.
But then I take off my AR goggles and I was like, oh, I still have the stump.
And you turn back and you see the angry face of Bryce and Mecha Bryce still looking at you, glaring at you.
All right, look, we're heading right towards this mountain, Justin. How fast does it look like we're going?
Fast enough that if we run into the side of the mountain, we're gonna die, right?
But too fast to jump off and tumble on the
Yes.
kiddie train?
Too fast to jump off. If I remember correctly, the monkey is continuing to fiddle with more and more levers and knobs, and he was about to either push a button or pull a lever right as we ended last week.
But remember, some of those levers play Calliope music.
Yeah, no,
Many of them played Calliope music.
we enjoyed the jaunty tunes, but not so much our impending death. I turn to Justin and I say, well, it's been a good run.
And I say, I'd like to shake your hand. Oh, wait, you don't have a hand because you're a goddamn idiot.
Okay. It's like,
Oh, right. You lost your hand.
Yeah.
Now, technically, Bryce, you shot his hand off.
Well, tomato, tomato.
Well,
Correct.
no. Bryce shot a missile that Brian had easily dodged, but he decided apparently to fist bump it, and it ripped his hand clean off.
Listen.
Not to waste an opportunity to point out Brian's culpability in anything, Bryce did shoot the hand off.
Okay. Sure. On paper, I shot the hand off. All right. I will accept that.
But I didn't shoot the deputy.
All right. As you're heading towards this mountain, I'm sure you guys are thinking, like, okay, what? It's got to be.
It's got to be a trick, right? It's got to be a
What?
hologram. We're going to whip right through a hologram, and we're going to be in the Wonka candy cave.
Okay. Somebody said maybe the Bat Cave. Maybe it's hoping for hologram. Justin?
Yeah, at this point, I've been so flirting with suicide and death in my head because this journey has become so taxing that I'm secretly hoping that this ends with us scattered across the desert. But I also know that there is no true justice in this universe, and we will almost surely have a last-second trapdoor open or a hologram revealed, and we will be within yet another a secret government facility.
I'm actually with ICU. I'm hoping for the Buckaroo Bonds. I hope one of these levers is going to blast a laser at the rock, and the moment we hit the rock, we'll be transported across the 8th dimension.
That's one possibility there. You could last minute Zeppelin picking you up.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. We could go on that. It could be last minute rescue. I don't know who the person would rescue there. Could be, I don't know, maybe the train tracks actually are camouflaged and go up over the mountain.
Could be. Wait, this is a long time we're headed towards this mountain, man.
I'm just saying, you know,
imagine this Bible parable where you meet God and it's like, God, what is your plan for us? He's like, well, I don't know. Maybe you could be a doctor. You know, that's a fulfilling thing. Or
I'm
you
just
could,
the
be an
storyteller,
architect.
guys.
That's also very good.
I'm not God, guys. I'm just the storyteller. So you're hurtling towards the mountain, okay? And all of a sudden, you notice that the train, the mountain's still there, and you're not getting any closer.
Wait, but the tracks are moving underneath us, right?
Tracks are moving underneath you.
I look around for something to drop and see if it goes back. I find my broken off hand and I toss some of the bits
And
in
you
my
wet
hand.
the finger of that one and hold it up and try to feel the wind.
No, I drop it down to see if they really are flying back behind or if this is some kind of illusion.
Well, you realize you're stationary, and you turn back around, you look behind you, and you see Mecha Bryce, is pulling the tracks out from underneath you, trying to track you backwards.
I decide this is a good time to get out of the train while it's still stationary. And I say, here, take my hand and carry it along with me behind me as I leave.
Well, your hand, got taken off by the missile and was smashed into the mountainside, so your hand's not in the play.
Got it. Well, I
So you are stationary right now because Mecha Bryce, as he's trying to pull that track backwards
Sure.
to try to drag you backwards, actually.
I jump, hoping to escape safely.
Justin.
I follow his lead.
All right, so you guys jump, you run off. Mecha Bryce is pulling the track. He doesn't realize at first he's trying to pull you in. He's trying to reel you in.
I assume for Mecha Bryce, this is like he started popping bubbles on packing material, and he just can't stop. It feels really good to keep pulling that track.
Sure, it's one of those.
Yeah, I mean, he
satisfaction
thinks
things.
he's going to get you, and then all of a sudden you look back as he pulls that train towards him. The train is in front of him, and Brian, you realize now that he's got the train, and you tried very hard, very valiantly to win him over and to tell him that all was okay. And you just watch as he just smashes the train to pieces.
I asked Justin to please remind me to have words with him about this. This
How
is
about
coming
never
up in
have
his
words
review.
with him again? He has wanted to murder us since we came back in contact with him. He is apparently traveling to different dimensions that we are just by happenstance visiting. He is the most malevolent, dangerous force in our life.
Okay, but
none.
But surely he didn't hurt the monkey
We've
engineer.
had a better interaction with Hitler than Bryce.
That's a good point, actually. Hitler was. That's a sentence I'll
Hitler
not
was
be completing on
downright
the broadcast.
cool dude compared to Bryce.
So the monkey engineer, he jumps free at the last moment, and he's now chasing after you guys.
He seemed friendly, so I wave with my good hand. Come on, let's go as we run.
All right, he runs. He catches up, and he's actually surprisingly fast on the ground, faster than you would expect. Somebody who evolved to brachiate is able to do. And so they catch up with you, and he starts taking off, and he leads you back towards where the tracks went into the mountain.
Does that take us towards Bryce, or it seems
Away
like our
from
best
Bryce.
move?
Away from Bryce.
Okay, go. I follow. I say, Bebo. That's your name now. Thank you, Bebo.
Monkey turns around, looks at Justin, does a shrug.
Yeah, he's gonna call you Bebo. It's fine.
Okay. Run towards the wall. Run right towards that. Monkey goes right up towards the wall, the side of the mountain, taps it. Nothing happens.
Is there any sound of the tab? Does it just sound like rock?
Sound working. It's rock. He taps it again. It's more rock.
Suspecting that maybe this is a hidden door that was expecting a train playing calliope music, I do my best impression of the song that was playing, and I'm all.
And the monkey starts to dance.
I immediately tell Captain Hook to cram it for 5 seconds as we try to figure out our mortal lives. All right, so I start tapping trying to communicate with Bebo. I start tapping on the side of the mountain and like miming door open or like walk through.
Yeah, and then he shrugs, and then he's like scratches his head, holds up his finger, and he pretends to press a button.
The button,
It's
the button that was on the train.
It's like, oh. He looks at Brian angrily.
I scan around for any debris. Maybe amazingly the piece of the train that we needed fell near us. I'm betting not.
No, it's now being stomped by Bryce, who's having a bit of a fit as he just tears the train to pieces. And oh my God, he's throwing the locomotive at us right now.
Okay, well, do the locomotion. Do the locomotion. So I attempt to dodge the train, but then also I'm trying to scan the train as it comes towards us to see if maybe this button will get to the right place at the right time after all.
Brian, you're not
Push
gonna catch
Brian
that
out
button.
of the way because dodging the train is going to be the operative element. There will be plenty of time for us to search where the button is.
Right. So I run.
Yeah, you guys run. Monkey's like, there's a way, doesn't say that, but he just motions for you. Follow him up a path. You follow him up a path. You follow him up the side of the mountain, of the hill. You get back there and you can look down and you can see the train track where it ran into the edge of the mountain. You see Bryce there standing. There's this crater of anger this crater of frustration and anger. Like, man, this is some scary sort of stuff. Looking at his rage, and then Mecha Bryce, turns up, looks up at you guys, raises one of his arms that's got a missile on it.
I go
See
faster.
it ignite. Fires at you. Okay. Now,
I look at Bebo and look for direction from our monkey companion.
he points to the other side of the mountain. You realize the mountain's not just a mountain; it's a ridge. It's a ridge, and what is on the other side of the ridge? A lush, verdant jungle, stretching for miles and miles, hundreds of miles.
That's lovely, but how close is this missile by now? Like, I don't think I can outrun a falling train, but not a launching
You
missile.
hear the sound of falling water, and he points towards a waterfall leading into a lake on the other side.
Oh
We
man,
gotta run. We run for the waterfall. Jump off the waterfall.
jump off the waterfall as well.
And the monkey grabs Justin by one hand, Brian by the only hand,
Yeah.
and invites you to jump with him.
Yes, 100%. We don't have any moves here, Justin. We gotta jump.
Go.
Now, remember, as you're falling through midair, you realize, like, wait, chimpanzees really aren't good swimmers.
I mean, too bad for him. Luckily, I'm used to be a great swimmer when I had two hands.
All right, so you jump in. It's like 100-foot plunge. It's a 100-foot plunge into the water. You fall into the water, okay, and trying to climb to the surface, whatever. And next thing you know, Brian, you've got a monkey clinging to your back.
So I'm probably not able to breathe so much with a monkey scared and pushing me underwater.
Well, he's just currently clinging for support.
Okay, all right, right on.
I grab Brian's one available hand and I help him get back to the surface and the edge of the lake.
All right. So finally, you climb to the surface. You get there, and you look, and you're surrounded by jungle.
Perfect.
Right?
I'm expecting Bryce to come over that ridge any minute. I'm still looking for cover. I go to the thickest, darkest part of that bush and hide.
All right.
We
So
should
you go
probably
hide,
keep
which is good.
moving, though. But we should probably keep moving because he's gonna go and wonder if we're dead up there.
Yeah, that's true. Probably also with all of his enhancements, scans for heat. He's pretty much the predator, I realized.
All right. So yeah, you hear some rumbling on the side of the hill. So you go into the jungle and you find a path, right? Find this path. You're running along the path, and all of a sudden, as you're running, you notice something out of the corner of your eye, but it looked like kind of like maybe like a mile marker.
Like a trail marker, like a.
Like one of those little white round mile markers.
Oh, all right. No time to fuss over that. We're still running from Mecha Bryce.
Wait, what does it say? What does the marker say?
You just passed it because you're in a hurry. Now, you see another one. You're like, oh, it's not a mile marker. It's a human skull.
Yeah, that's not great. Keep running. Better
right.
the devil that you don't know.
Finally, you come running and you come to a fork in the jungle road.
Not the phrase. Brian.
That's not. I'm pretty sure. That's how it went.
It's the opposite. It's better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Well, okay, but the devil you know is definitely bad. But the devil you don't know, that's Pandora's devil. That could be that could be a devil that's a good devil.
Again, Pandora's box, something that you don't want to open. Like you don't want. You hope
I want to
it's
write
not
the
Pandora's
post-apocalyptic
box's
novel where Brian tells everybody what they meant, and all the phrases and everything, all the expressions and stuff. Remember, it's better the devil you don't know than the devil you do.
Because the devil you do know, he's a real jerk. Yeah. That other devil might be pretty cool. You won't know unless you open that box.
You come to a fork in the road, and there are two signs on either side of the road. On one sign is a very crudely painted emoji of a smiley face.
Is there any way that could possibly have been meant as a grimace of terror?
Well, Brian, glad you asked. On the other road, the other sign is a skull and crossbones.
Okay, Justin, hear me out. This looks like a very obvious choice, but I want you to know that the skull and crossbones thing did not originally mean death. It actually originally meant it referred to the life everlasting. Actually, that it was a nautical thing. This is all true. This is for reals. Don't give me that look. So I'm just saying, we don't know what society made these two symbols. And it's not. It may seem inherently obvious, but that's us projecting our cultural time and place. We're out of our regular dimension now.
So
Okay,
Harry
all right,
Langdon,
all right.
when
So
you're,
hold on,
when
wait a
you're
minute.
doing your Da
Brian,
Vinci
Brian.
Code, do you have the Tom Hanks mullet or not that he had in the first movie?
I don't know. I don't know.
All right. Well, Brian, I
Robert
hear
Langdon.
what you're telling me. Just real quick, with your give me a visual symbol of 1 to 10. How sure you are about what you're saying?
Okay.
Just go ahead, hold up.
I try to count up to past 5, but I can't.
You know what?
So instead, I
Brian,
drop
see,
down
Brian,
to only
on
one
the ground,
finger.
you see a skeleton arm, kind of in the bush,
Yeah.
whatever.
I
the
walk
brush.
over, I grab that skeleton arm, and then I still only hold 5 fingers up because I'm not really totally sold on this.
And then you see another skeleton arm.
Okay. Which way does there seem to be more skeletons?
They're kind of in the middle, and they may have chew marks on them.
What is Bebo doing?
Looking to you guys for help. He's like,
So okay.
oh, now he's scratching himself.
Okay. I say.
Oh, now he found a stick. He's
I s-
picking his nose with a stick.
I say.
He's just doing
Bebo.
chimpanzee
And
stuff.
I look over my shoulder as I appear to kind of jauntily walk towards the skull aisle, as if I intend to go that way, and I read him for reactions.
He happily follows you. Happily follows you there.
Bebo.
All right, Brian. I feel like it's better the devil we don't.
So which way are
Now,
we going?
as a test, I would suggest maybe walking towards the emoji and see what he does.
Yeah, that's good. We have to do both sides. Now I walk back and I jauntily walk towards the emoji happy face.
And he happily follows you.
Yeah, that's right. I knew it. All right, Justin. I say
Yeah.
we take the emoji thing, but if it ends up killing us, I reserve the right to wag my one good finger and remind you that I warned you this might happen.
Wait, you're anti-emoji?
I'm just I don't know. I'm just saying.
You just want to reserve the right to bitch?
Yes, that's actually
Fine.
exactly right.
Congratulations. Here's your fast pass to bitch if it so comes to pass. Let's
Okay,
go.
Good.
All right, so which way did you take?
Emoji.
Happy emoji.
All right. All right, and you rolled a 12. And so you take the emoji path and you're walking along, and it's like, it's jungle, it's every now and then Bebo just sort of hops up on a tree, climbs around, then he jumps back down, and it's kind of like a little pathway. It's not that bad. And you're walking for a while. It's just still more jungle, and you hear strange noises and stuff in the jungle, and there are things following you and probably tracking you too, by the way, and maybe large things too. And then you're getting really kind of hungry, and then you catch the whiff of maybe food being prepared.
What kind of food? Like roasting flesh?
Probably.
Like chicken, right?
I mean, whoever it is, they're civilized
It's
enough
white
to
meat.
cook. Whoever it is they're civilized enough to cook, maybe they'll be able to be reasoned with. Better the
Right,
devil we
'cause,
don't know.
Only civilized people have the use of fire.
I mean, I'm trying to look on the bright side here. Let's keep going.
I'll
All
be
right,
Brian
Brian, hey,
Brushwood,
look.
Starship Commander.
Brian, what could go wrong? We're being chased by a cybernetically enhanced lunatic. We've gone through at least 3 dimensions, and we got 3 arms and a dream. Let's get this thing running.
So more.
We keep going.
definitely-
We sally forth. But we try to tread lightly, and if we see anybody ahead of us, we're gonna try and kind of scope everything out before we walk right into it.
You see the remnants of you see a village. All of a sudden, you see the grass huts, but it's also made from, let's say, like parts of aluminum siding, and like civilization collapsed, and they rebuilt it using all these sort of random parts and stuff. So you see a village, and you see some sort of like people dressed in rags, but not like they took old clothes and made them look kind of, usable again, but very sort of primitive style. And they're all gathered around something in the center. And you see that there's a large fire and the smell of just really, really pointing, just powerful roasting meat.
Okay, so I'm going to assume it's a feast, but I ain't no dummy. I'm not going to run up and extend. Fool me once with one hand. That's bad. So I stay off to the periphery. I'm just watching. I'm not going to go waltzing into this.
So you're watching. You can't see what's in the middle of them, all right? So you're trying to peer around, but that's your plan, is just stealth?
Yep.
Stealth, yeah.
We're tired of surprises.
All right. Well, you're there, you're watching, and all of a sudden you hear a twig break, and you look, and Bebo is walking towards the group of people.
I watch very intently, and I whisper under my breath, it was good knowing you, Bebo.
Bebo walks up to the nearest person who's actually holding a spear, tugs on them. Person turns around, tall guy, tan skin, shaved head, right? Wearing what may have been the remnants of some jeans that are now cut off shorts, colored shirts, got a spear, turns around, looks, wide-eyed, sees Bebo. Bebo smiles. Bebo dances. And then Bebo points right back at you guys.
I hold my stump and I kind of shake it and I go, Bebo.
Yeah.
So I assume, I mean, do we have an escape velocity vector here, or do we just have to get captured, do you think?
3 hands up in the air.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
3 hands up in the air, you get surrounded by people with spears, and you get pushed into a hut, right? And you're sat there, and finally the village elder comes in there and sits down, and he says, next time on Journey Quest.
No, that's a weird thing for him to say. What do you think it means?
I don't know.
It means
Don't
that
know.
next time we're going to be on Journey Quest. God damn it, Bo. We probably shouldn't have named him Bebo.
Gentlemen, picks.
You know what? I had an unusual experience. I had Monday, Tuesday, my big podcasting days, and then immediately we left the next morning, Wednesday, for a family reunion. So I've been totally out of the loop, and now here we are, as if from a time machine, and all I know is sun and sand and watching my kids swim far too dangerously out into the water for my comfort. So I actually have consumed no new media since last time.
No worries.
I got a pick. So we shot the Kickstarter video for Action News on Saturday.
Sweet.
But one of the elements of that script was that at the end of most evening newses, there's usually like the cliched squirrel riding on water skis kind of clip.
Yeah,
right?
from another side of town. Look at this guy.
It's like oh, we leave you now with like that thing, and then it comes back and it's just the two people talking as the lights kind of slowly dim, or it's from like another upward shot. Just that kind of idea. So I wanted to do something like that, and I won't spoil what we wound up getting, but we found on Pond 5, which I know has been advertised, in another era, was advertised very, very heavily on podcasting, but I wound up finding just great, a perfect
Water skiing squirrel?
I don't know. Do I want to spoil it? Because it's actually pretty funny when people see it. But
No, you don't have to
it is
spoil
aquatic based, and it is an animal in a position that you would not expect.
Nice.
But I found it on Pond 5 for a very reasonable price, and it kind of was perfect, and it saved us from, just going onto YouTube and trying to like contact somebody and finding out who actually owns that, and then just avoided us a lot of headaches.
Or
So big
trying
shout
to
out
strap water skis onto a squirrel. I mean, let's be honest with
for
you.
that.
You got to size them first. You're like, oh, I got them. They were too big, and then like that alone, I'm like, one, I want to have a squirrel water ski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Step one. Step two. How big should those skis be? I think at what point are you like, I need to find a squirrel that will cooperate?
Yeah.
Um,
No. Are you gonna get a shot at those squirrels' little feet?
So I got a pick. And let me be very clear. Let me absolutely state I thought the direction of Wonder Woman was fantastic. I thought it's going to be Wonder Woman. I thought Gal Gadot was amazing. I thought Chris Pine was really, really strong. I thought the supporting characters did a good job. I very much enjoyed the movie. It has that last act problem, same as like Thor did, whatever. But I thought that the characters and all that, and again, I think Patty Jenkins has directed by far, and I don't even want to say the best in the DC. That's so what? Like, listen, throw your iPhone in the air with your camera running, and you've directed a better movie than anything that's been in the DC cinematic universe before. Okay, that's just so what? She's directed she's did a great job of directing, really solid, really good, and I'm excited that. Watching that and then seeing, the Black Panther trailer come out where you're like, hey, and I'm not going to talk about like diversity in the sense of what somebody's ethnicity or gender is, but just the idea of when we expand beyond the sort of normal director pool of, well, this person did VFX movies, so we'll have them do a superhero movie. When you expand in the director pool of, man, this person did really good character dramas. Yeah. Guess what? They give you really good character superhero movies, which which are like Colin Trevorrow and other people I'm excited about. I'm going to give you my, and I don't want to spoiler time. And this is a thing that really made me go, I'm going like, all right, how is DC going to screw this up? How is DC going to screw this up as I'm watching the movie? And then I get to this point, I'm like, why? Nobody in the writer's room. Nobody. And again, I'm the only person who's bothered by this. I'm the only person who's heard say this. So don't even listen to me say this if you love the movie and you don't want to be thinking about this.
Is this what you texted me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you heard anybody else bring that up?
Not as explicitly with as many examples cited, but certainly I have heard the base element levied, but not nearly as credible of a. You came in with the like final 5 minutes of Matlock, case closed monologue.
So, and again, if you haven't seen the movie, don't listen. Go watch the movie and enjoy the movie.
So spoilers for Wonder Woman. This is the last thing we're gonna do, and then we're gonna end the episode. So this is it.
Okay, and this is my thing. And again, I make a lot of allowances to superhero movies. I know when I'm watching a superhero movie, whatever. Brian, you saw it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's my thing. Okay, now again, people go the nod like, hey, it's very similar to Captain America. Again, they both deal with war. Somebody find themselves in war, both period pieces, all that. And I get that. And I'm like, yeah, this is sort of like this. And Captain America, sort of embraced certain kinds of storytelling, whatever. And I get that. And that part, like, oh, it's going to be a lot like Captain America. I'm like, well, that's cool. And Wonder Woman was a wartime character. She had a prominence in World War II actually. But I'm okay with that because that's when we got a lot of characters. I watched a movie where literally the big emotional pull at the end was about a woman who fought in the war, crying over a picture of a man in uniform who died, or ostensibly died, was lost, trying to save a city from being bombed by a German superplane. I was like, wow, this is like literally. I'm like, oh, he's running towards the plane. I'm like, wait, no, don't. That's gonna be really Captain America. That's how Captain America at the end of that is. He tried to stop us from the plane. I'm like, just, and then I'm like, you could have just a train, anything. They didn't have to do that. That's so literally like Captain America at the ending of that. And then he's gonna like, all right, he's gonna die. Captain didn't die, but he's gonna look like he dies to her. And then like we get the celebration. We had Chad and Captain America. Hey, the war's over. And then she's got the photo, and she's got the photo of Steve in the uniform. And I'm like, this is like. That was blatant to me. That was just to be like.
Well, do you think there was a deeper message they were sending by directly aping the end of the first Captain America movie?
Yeah, we don't have our own original ideas for how to create one of the most powerful emotional moments we could do.
Do you think they're actually
hack, Brian.
incapable,
It's hack.
or
It is hack, Brian. It is hack. Do I think that when they go to their competitive series and literally take a thing that they didn't need to, like, yes, did they do it because it worked for Captain America? Sure. Should you do that? I don't know. I was bothered by the fact that they had Jenkins did such a wonderful way of addressing, of handling it. She did such a marvelous job of directing that she was served this ending that like, and I don't blame her for it. It's like, yeah, these are the people that made, these are the same people that, did Batman versus Superman. And these are people who did, Suicide Squad and Man of Steel. It's like they managed to just go in there and sabotage what I thought was a wonderful job of directing. And it's still a great movie. Go see it. It's fun. It's a really, really fun movie. But I was like, did you, go.
Yeah, no, I mean, this has been my thought on Wonder Woman, is that I was so sold on the first third of the movie that while there are certainly very fun and I think more unexpectedly rich moments throughout, it was trading off how much I liked those characters and how much I liked the first 30, the first, hour or so of the movie throughout the rest of it. And by that end, it just, whether or not it has the exact fingerprints on it of Captain America, that third act just kind of gets so super, OP characters, punchy solvey thing by the end of it, that it's like, I'm like, oh, okay. But it was part of like my initial impression that like, this just feels like a lot of movies, because it doesn't really feel like this is the ending to the movie that I initially started watching. But at the same time, like, I liked everybody in it, and I liked how they reacted. But I totally agree.
To that point, let me make it very clear. Like, I had a friend who texted me like, "Oh, how did you?" He said, "I figured you'd have a problem with the Ares thing." I'm like, I didn't bother me, because Diana's journey was very real, was very, very consistent. She made smart decisions, true to her character all the way throughout. The Ares sort of thing was, it was a little silly, whatever. But her emotional thing, where she was, her character change and her arc was really well done. I'm like, yeah, that's sort of a silly thing to do it, but I believe that character. I believe that she went through this point, and that, again, I'm a plot guy, but character trumps everything. And I forgave it for that, because I'm like, no, I watched a character have a real journey, so I'm okay with that. When she goes into the pit, the no man's land, symbolism, whatever kind of thing, I'm like, this is over the top, but man, this is really awesome. This is really, really cool the way this is done. The idea of heroicism, her idea, and what I loved about Captain America, the idea of this character that is this truly good-hearted person. And it was cool here is like Steve Trevor in this sort of his own way. I love those characters. I thought they were really, really well done. And things that people thought would annoy me that were kind of cliche, silly sort of writing, like, I was still liking the characters and their journey, and they felt. I never had a moment where I'm like, well, that was dumb. Why did they do that? That was dumb. Why did they do that? Never had a single moment. I did that with the writers. I'm like, you could have just changed a couple of elements there, and I would be like, oh, it's so feel. But anyhow, it's still, I highly recommend this movie. It is way better than I had any reason to expect. So.
Agreed.
Yeah. And then Calhoun says in the chat room, when I saw that ending, I was like, oh, in the sequel, they're going to find Steve Trevor in a block of ice and thaw him out. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, real quick, I know we said we were going to end on that, but I did love that Black Panther trailer. Nice.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it.
Brian.
Okay.
Maybe we can watch it and then talk about an after thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we got a cool topic for that, so we'll do. I'll just say right now, it's been weird.
Okay.
So we got a cool topic for after things. So we can do that. Then we can talk about the Black Panther trailer.
Nice.
Yeah.
That works. They want to just watch it before we do the after things.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let me get set up for after things.
All right.
We'll do that.
I'm going to do a little break thing I do on my break.
man, you know what's wild is being gone for a week and then coming back and being on a podcast when everyone who's patiently waited to hear from you for that week that you are out all tries to contact you while you're live on the air.
Oh, no.
This phone's been buzzing off the hook.
Blowing up.
Had to type a couple of, hey, sort of live right now.
These were calls that you were waiting on, or
No. Well, just that there's stuff that got set in motion last week that, or before last week, and then you know, I was unavailable, and then now is the Monday where everyone's calling for updates. And
Oh, did you text that guy?
what's that?
Did you text the guy for the Nomad guy?
Yes, we're all good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Then I will send that.
Oh, speaking of which, I was gonna text. This is Thursday, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna text
I'm thinking 4 o'clock.
Daniel Garcia. I don't know. Yeah, that works.
Okay. I'll put it in the Slack so I don't forget. Just so I'm not ready.
Oh, there it is. Okay, good. All right, here. I'll run to the restroom. Then we're.
Hey, Justin. How's it
yo,
going?
what up?
Oh, you know.
So what? I saw you were in kind of the dumps yesterday. How are things?
They're a little better. I don't know. That's I don't know. I'm still in a little bit of a weird place, but I can talk about that another time.
Yeah, I don't want to bring up super personal shit, but just
I did. A result of that was that I went to a new barbecue place near me, and so I've gone and had good barbecue, right? Like I've gone and had Stubbs and Ruby's and all that. And this place really set oh, okay, so this is pretty bad barbecue that I can compare this really good stuff with. But it is
kind of hard if you don't really have a history of your entire life eating barbecue.
Right.
Like just go to 5 or 6 of the best barbecue places in Austin. You're just yeah, they're great. All of these are really, really good. I enjoy them, but I don't have the palate to say that these are the best. So it does help to eat just garbage barbecue and just be oh, wow, okay, so this is bad.
Okay. I mean, it was it was maybe $10 for a plate with a bunch of sides and stuff, but it was just it's a good marker making of just no, okay, this is bad barbecue.
Yeah.
What was the other thing I was gonna say?
That's what I can't find in here.
Well,
Good
and also
barbecue.
I grew up in Virginia, where the barbecue that we have is Carolina barbecue. The shredded.
Your mustard sauce.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's or the sweet sauce. I'll take a sweet sauce.
Like sweet sauce.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah, there's not a lot of good barbecue out here, and nor really good sandwiches.
Oh yeah. Oh really? Man.
I mean, Justin and I grew up in Florida with Primanti's. Or not Primanti's, but with
Both.
Primanti's is good too. We had that by the beach.
Mhm.
But Las Patas.
Spadas.
I wanted that.
Spadas is a legendary hoagie. It's, so they got good meat, good bread, good portions. Here's the key though. Meat top.
Meat.
So
top?
they take another layer of your cold cuts, right? So normally going into the kind of the V of the sandwich.
Mhm.
So the base is the meat and the cheese, right? Then you get all your fixins and stuff on top. But then on top of that, another layer of one of the cold cuts.
Oh.
Fold that in on either side. It makes everything a lot more circular. And it is just it's next level stuff. I'm shocked I have not seen it ripped off more places.
You know something weird that I got at the store the other day was hamburger bun, or not hamburger, hot dog buns, but instead of being cut in the center, they were like split top. They were cut in the top, in the brown rounded side.
Oh, really?
Kind of like, I guess it's kind of like a Subway bread sort of style when you do it like that. I don't know. It was weird. I guess
I've definitely seen hot dog buns that are just the slit up top, and the idea is that you are just kind of like just popping the dog right into there, but it's not like all the way down to the bottom.
Oh no, these ones did go to the bottom, but weirdly they like didn't separate as well as normal ones do because you've got the curve. It was interesting. It was on sale though, so I feel all right about it.
So wait, so are you telling me that you felt better having shitty barbecue yesterday, feeling like more worldly, that you've now been able to tell the difference between good barbecue and bad barbecue?
That was an enjoyable part of that experience.
Tell you what, man, take your W's where you can in life.
Okay, so we've got the Black Panther teaser trailer that launched a couple days ago. We can watch this before we start the show. Here we go.
Tell me something. What do you know about Wakanda? It's a third world country. Textiles, shepherds, cool outfits. All front. Explorers have searched for it. Called it El Dorado. They looked for it in South America. But it was in Africa the whole time. I'm the only one who's seen it and made it out alive. I can see you. The world is changing. Soon, there will only be the conquered and the conquerors. Step into the spotlight. You are a good man. Step into the spotlight. It's a good heart. And it's hard for a good man to be a king.
Dude, that looks awesome.
I'm surprised there wasn't a little stinger, a little thing at the end of that.
Who's the? I saw some brouhaha on the tweeters. There's a guy that shows up for like half a second. That I guess was the Human Torch in the Fantastic Four movie.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah. Who is he in this?
He is Eric Killmonger.
Killmonger. Well, that's certainly a good guy.
Yeah.
Good old Killmonger. Because Badman was already taken.
The meme is that nobody ever gives up. The Marvel never gives up on shitty Human Torches.
Yeah.
So, like they recast Chris Evans as Captain America, and now Michael B. Jordan gets another shot with Black Panther.
Yeah. That looks great. I love it because it's like it feels like a very different movie, but it still felt like a Marvel movie, but like the next phase sort of thing, you know. So,
well, we want to get into the show so we can.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to do the? Let's do it at the top. We got a really good question, so we'll do that first, and then we can get into our Black Panther talk.
Yeah.
Cool. Sure.
Sounds great.
All right. Can we just do the briefest PSA that here's a reminder, go set your DVR. For most people getting this.
What's going on? What do we need to DVR for? What?
Mike and Molly? Is Mike and Molly back?
Mike and Molly's back. Great.
You're killing me. Yeah.
Yo, Mike and Molly hype train.
I have an intro plan, Brian.
Okay. All right. Roger that.
Okay, well then, take it away in 3, 2.
Welcome to After Things. I'm Andrew Main, and before we begin the show, the show sucks.
Whoa! Wow!
It's garbage. It's really bad.
Yeah, because like most people just listen to it in their ear holes, and we do a live stream thing, and there's a YouTube thing somewhere. But to be able to watch a face move with words at the same time, but also like you want to watch it on the big screen, but you can't. You can't get any of that. And I wish there was a way for somebody just to get, I don't know, just one of us on a large screen TV in front of, the family could gather around and get a decent hour or two, not like super late or whatever, and be entertained by that's Justin, who you heard before, Justin Robert Young. And then,
well, the other thing is that, like, we've only been doing this show for a little while. Like, what I would like on the big screen is a proven franchise that has delighted millions and millions of people, brought to a bigger stage and a level. And that's something that we're, obviously not qualified for.
I can't do this, Justin. Do you got it?
Hey guys, Brian Brushwood here.
I'm out on that. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm out. You're out. So I guess that's just not going to happen.
I've got a plan that just might work, fellas. Listen.
It's a pity. It's a pity. So anyhow, let's get into it.
I'm here. I live.
Oh, Brian, you're still doing this show?
Yes,
because
I'm still here.
I heard in the Hollyweird that you'd moved on because apparently you're going to be on television, Brian.
Yes. Okay. Look, we made Scam School into a TV show. We talked about this on Weird Things. We're saying it again on After Things because it has a very strange time slot. It is 8 o'clock in the morning, East Coast time, 5 o'clock in the morning, West Coast time, on the Science Channel on Saturday, June 24th. Set your DVR, set your DVR, set your DVR. Do it right now. Don't say you're going to do it later. Do it right this minute. Set your DVR, because those numbers matter.
You may have to look for the time slot, not Brian Brushwood.
Yeah.
The information probably is not in any system yet.
Correct. Correct. Although I think you might be able to find it if you search Scam School. They're feeding all that in now. It's moving very, very fast. And so please, we want to rock the boat on this one so we can do a lot more.
June 24th, 8 a.m. Eastern time. It is on one feed, so that would be 5 p.m. Pacific time, 6 Mountain, 7 Central.
AM. Saturday morning cartoons.
Science Channel.
Scam
School. Scam School.
Not the Math Channel. Not the History Channel.
Not the Pseudoscience Channel.
Not the Gym Channel. Science.
Not
the
Logo.
Homeroom
We
Channel.
talked about that. That's another show in the works.
Yeah.
Yes, set your DVRs. All right, PSA over. Thank you.
That's Logo's Brian's new Babadook show that he's in development for.
Gentlemen, we got a question here from Blair Slavin, which is really a very interesting point he brings up. Is, hey guys, I'm currently in the middle of this book, Deep Work by Cal Newport, pick attached, that I heard recommended by the podcast You Need a Budget. They talked about new career directions and how people are not able to accomplish a lot of their goals due to their losing the ability to focus due to easy, low-impact distractions on their time and memory and concentration. So this might be more for your After Things discussion on how to improve concentration so you can accomplish your business long-term goals. Something I really find difficult to do myself. Perhaps you can talk about how you keep yourself on track and distractions to a minimum of not totally shut out. Synopsis, the deep work hypothesis. The ability to perform deep work has become extremely rare at exactly the time it has become increasingly valuable in our economy. As a consequence, the few who cultivate this skill and then make it the core of their working life will thrive.
I definitely agree with all of this, and it's really weird because I can't tell. I think all of us would say that we don't do as much deep work as we would like to, right? Or as we feel like we should.
Maybe Brian. I think Brian, Andrew is kind of constantly hip deep in.
But that's my point. Is that from the outside, everyone would agree that all three of us are extremely busy, always doing productive stuff. On the inside, sure. I will wager all three of us really feel like we're sort of goofing around and not doing as much deep work as we should.
I don't know how to answer that because I always feel like I need to be doing more, but I would say that I'm a guy who just spent the last 72 hours deep in iOS development learning this.
Yeah.
And I went once to go see Wonder Woman, and I made myself go see it because I said, if I sit here in front of the computer and I don't do something like this, my social life will continue to atrophy.
Yeah.
And I would say that when I wanted to learn how to write, I went into deep. You know, I said, I've got to put 5 or 6 years of writing development into 6 months worth of time. When it comes to deep work, I would say that I'm better at it than I was before. And I have to find that balance now because I have that personality. When I say I'm going to learn something, I will go jump into it and I will do nothing but try to learn that thing. And an advantage of being single, no obligation, nobody pull me out of, what I'm trying to work on. So I'm in a particular situation where I have the freedom to go jump into these things and I don't have the same responsibilities other people do. But I am a big believer in deep work. I would say to one day I'd say yeah, but I'd say that, like, part of my problem has been I've been too immersed in some kinds of deep work.
Yeah, no, I would say that Brian, me and you have a personality type that I think is slightly apart from Andrew in that the level of oxygen that Andrew has, in my opinion, as an outside observer of his work, that has kind of supercharged a lot of what he has done, is kind of the opposite of I need to concentrate more. It's I need to look at the meta a little bit more and take a break and allow things to breathe on a level that is easy to ignore when you are head down trying to just like chip away. Whereas I think I would agree with you, Brian, that ultimately the time that I most feel that I'm getting a lot done is when I am either completing goals or there is momentum to a project that has already kind of begun and you start to lose time based on how much you're focused on it.
But I think that to the meta point, I agree. I think that the best things in my life have happened from me learning how to do deep work. The best things in my life have happened when I learned to focus, and I didn't have that ability before. I would try something and I would like, it's a little hard, whatever. I'll get back to it later. Hey, let me go do this. Let me do that. And then I have to make a conscious decision now to go into Twitter and say, let me go do something. I'm not pulled there. I don't do that. I make a conscious decision to go into Instagram just to maintain a presence, say hello to my friends. But I don't have on my computer in front of me here. I do not have a chat program. I do not have Facebook installed. I don't have anything in here and I was surprised when I got a phone call on the other show. I'm like, I thought I turned that off. I have an environment that is completely distraction free when I need to work on stuff. And that's the problem. And when I talk about writing, I was at UCLA a month ago doing a writing talk, and I was talking about the problem that if you want to write, give up Facebook. And I don't mean forever, but like if you've got a book you need to write, if you vanish from Facebook from 30 days, it won't be the end of your life and you'll get a lot more done it's an example of one of the many things. That is a system that is designed. It is a $500 billion company that's technology is designed to pull you back in. Whatever way they can get you back in there, whatever way the AI says, I can send them an email, they might trigger this. If I put this person's name in the email heading, if I send them this notification, when they go back into their feed to the check, I'm going to use my algorithm to put this on top to get you in there. We live in an attention economy, and this is what I talked about before. My pick, it's been my consistent pick, is The Attention Merchants by Tim Wu, is that we're now at a point where people are aggressively trying to get at our attention, which they have the right to do, and we give them permission to do this. And that makes deep work hard. It makes deep work really, really hard.
So what's the solution outside of, the easy thing is like, hey, take this time, set apart these hours, do this. I will admit it's a lot harder to do that now that I got 3 little girls running around and Bonnie back in the studio and leaning on me to provide more of the support here at home. It's challenging too because it's very seductive, especially in our line of work, or at least for me, or all 3 of us. Like we can goof around on Twitter or on Facebook and tell ourselves we're managing our brand, that we are enhancing our relationship with our base, so that when we have a project, we have we have stuff in the emotional bank account that we can motivate people to take actions. For example, I don't know, setting your DVR for Saturday, June 24th at 8 a.m. to record both episodes of the Scam School
Science
pilots.
Channel. Science Channel.
Science Channel. But ultimately, you're right. Maybe it does in some vague, unclear way support overall what you're doing. But in no universe could you get away with calling that deep work.
Well, I no, that ain't the deep work. But I think that if you're talking about that, you talk about the little distractions. Step one is, is solve that problem, because before you're even going to try to get into deep work, you've got to solve that problem of why do you even can't you even get into it. So I have, I finished a novel that my editor loved and my agent loved, and hopefully people will love. I wrote it in a week. I wrote the novel in a week. I only had a week to write it. Okay. How did I write a novel in a week? It was deep work. It was, this is the one particular thing I'm going to focus on. It will be the only thing. I set up my task. My task was, at the end of 7 days, I got to have 80,000 words. Ideally, a good 80,000 words. What do I need to do? I said, well, for starters, I need to have an outline. I need to have an outline. I have to solve. Let me set up all the things I need to solve this problem. Okay. And so at the end of that 7 days, I'll have done that. Last week, I had to turn in a script for an hour-long show. Okay. I had to turn in an hour-long script. I hadn't written a script in years. Sat down and said, okay, I need to, this is what the finished product will look like. It needs to have these criteria. What do I need going in there to do it? And then that's all I'm going to do for the next 6 hours, is just write that. So I lay out what that work is going to be, and then I take out every distraction that's going to pull me away from it. And if I need a break, and I do believe in taking breaks and getting up from what you're doing, because your brain can only handle so much, I make sure that break does not divert me from what I'm trying to do. So I've been learning over the weekend, I've been learning iOS development. And, I get a lot of the fundamentals, but all that all at once hurts my brain. Like, I don't get this. This is way above, my thinking. And I could either say, I'll come back to it in a week. I'm like, no, but I can't just sit at the screen and keep doing it for an hour, because I won't retain anything.
Can I ask, because I don't think you're intentionally going to this place, but I know that for me, and I wonder if it's the same way for you, Justin, that the times that I have accessed that deep work state almost exclusively have been when there's no other option. When I am up against deadline, when it's do or die, and you go all in on there. And in my mind, it's been a perverse. It's been a perverse acknowledgement that procrastination is a pretty good way to make sure you're doing that which absolutely must be done, and that you have no time to goof around. It's like, it's not, it never occurs to me when I'm up against deadline to spend any time building my brand on Twitter, air quotes around that.
Well, yes, I would agree. The only thing that I would try to build on top of it is that what I have found is that ultimately that trigger is not necessarily deadlines, although they are often the most prevalent form of it, but it's letting people down. That's what I really react to. And even if it's the reason why I've tried to find teams. Like, I realize that I'm somebody who works well with teams, because if there is always this element of don't let everybody down, then I will be ahead of the game, because it's easier to motivate me to go from point A to point Z if I know, oh, okay, well, cool. I can get this done and I'll be ahead of the game because I can't let these people down. Right. And that ultimately is what a deadline is usually, right? It's your work crew or your, other people around you, but ultimately you not doing it will affect other people. And that's something that I know for me was a big revelation.
I would certainly say that as I started having to work with agents and publishers, that helped. But to get to that point though, when I first said I want to write books, the only deadlines I had were self-imposed, but I put those on the whole. Do you want to be a flake? Do you just want to be the guy who talks about doing this, or do you want to do this? And then when I wanted to learn coding, it came into same sort of thing. Like, do you just want to be a guy like, I have an idea for this. If only I had some magical person who could make this happen for me. And it's like, just become that magical person. Just learn it. I mean, it's hard. It's hard, but it's not, you don't have to be a genius to do this sort of stuff, because a lot of people who are not geniuses are doing these things. It just takes time,
Yeah.
Somebody point out in the chat room says I wrote virtually all my college papers the day before it was due, and that's been the only thing that works for me. I used to be that guy. I used to be I'm going to do it the night before because it's really good, And then I'm like, hey, when I spent more time on it and then did it, when I spent a week on it but treated it like that deadline, it turned out to be great, So.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly did plenty of work at the absolute last minute, but ultimately, I had to come to the realization that wasn't my best work. It was passable work, and I got through all of my schooling and much of my adulthood, understanding that with very little effort, I could produce C+ work, and that can be a crutch, and I can lie to myself and say that it's really A+ work. But ultimately, I know that, hell, I have a tremendous gift if I can start at C+ and then work up, But I think that there is a danger in thinking that, like, well, I got it, nailed it.
So in concrete advice, my opinion is, one is you got to state what your intended goal is. That is how you know when you're deviating from the goal. If the goal is, yes, I want to spend the next week building up my social media following and doing that, then yeah, it's Twitter, it's Periscope, it's Facebook live stream, it's doing these things, it's guesting, it's doing all sorts of stuff to do that sort of stuff. But that's probably not the goal you're looking at. If your goal is, I want to learn X, I want to do this thing, then you figure out what is a realistic way to do it. And for me, when I was writing, it was, I'm going to take books that I liked and popular books. I'm going to sit there with Post-it notes and highlight, and I'm going to break these books down so I technically understand what's going on, because I realized, man, I don't know why I like a lot of books. I have no idea. Most people have no idea because they never stop to think about it. And then same with movies. A lot of people are like, oh, I liked it. And then you break it down and go, oh, this is where the likability came from. This was where it didn't. I had a process. For coding, it was like, okay, I'm not going to become a great coder, but I might be able to work well enough within these things that when I have a harebrained scheme, I could maybe make something that's somewhat usable. And so, like, for example, is like, I've been working on Tiny Shop, and then I'm like, man, I would really like to have an app that goes with Tiny Shop, because I mentioned Tiny Shop, and they go, oh, it's very app-like. Are you going to do an app? I'm like, I can either ignore that and say, I'm not hearing that, or I can say, would it make it functionally better?
Yeah, and it almost certainly would, right?
Yeah. And so it's like, and I could go, it's very easy for me to go like, no, that's the distraction, and it is. But if I want to give it the best chance of success, then learning how to make an app would be helpful. So, and I'm like, all right, how am I going to do it? How did I learn Ruby? I took every beginner course I could, every tutorial, went it over. So I've been doing the Team Treehouse course on Swift development, learning Swift, and then I went and helped a friend go shopping on Saturday. I got the app, the Code Swift app, so that while we're out shopping with two friends, I'm in there taking quizzes and stuff and making sure that I'm learning the stuff. So even though I'm out, and even though I'm theoretically out, supposed to be hanging out, having fun, there's a lot of downtime when I'm not in a conversation, when they're off doing something, I'm not in a conversation where I can be like, let me quiz myself. Let me make sure that I know this. And so,
you know what, I would say, here's my problem is that, kind of like, when it
did
comes
your
to
TV show is coming on air? You
My
don't know how
problem
to
is that my
divide your
time
to-
slot is very missable, so make sure to set your DVRs. No. My problem is that much like your body can tell when you can't afford to get sick, and it will muscle up, and you could tell your body wants to be sick, but it can't afford to because the show's happening or whatever. And then you could tell yourself, all right, let's keep that white knuckle health, and your body's like, you and I both know you're just gonna play games this weekend. I'm gonna get sick. I find the same thing with my deadlines. I need some kind of concrete, like I have to get on the phone with somebody at 6 o'clock on this day and tell him how far I've made it on this project. So I do try to manufacture those moments so that it forces me to decision gates otherwise faster than I might otherwise be tempted to get to them, all things being equal.
Yeah. A technique that I use, and I've mentioned this before, like when I have to do a big task, often, let's say back in the day when, mainly my main source of income was like Magic DVDs, was, you'd have to come up with a trick, shoot it, edit it, and all that. But I found out that I could subdivide that into, well, now I got to go hop into Photoshop and work on a cover. Now I got to hop into a Word document or a Google Doc, and I can write my copy. And I would go do these other things that were fun and almost gamified, like, oh, let me write a really cool copy. Let me go do this. And I could go back and forth between these different tasks. so that even when I reach my point of I need to go do something else, I'm like, oh, I have something else. And then I could start a project on Friday, and by Monday morning, I could have a DVD covers, artwork, all this sort of stuff, because the point at which I wanted a distraction, I just use a distraction within the task.
That's actually pretty good. It makes me think of, the phrase, eat the frog. It's like, you got to eat the frog. And so in this way, what you've done is you set up a buffet of frogs to eat. So at any given time, you're in the middle of eating one frog, and you're like, man, this really sucks. I'm going to eat this other frog instead. And you're like, ooh, this is novel.
Yeah, it's a yellow frog.
Yeah, exactly.
But you do find that you start to and you might find that some of those things you actually do enjoy. And I believe in switching parts of the brain. When I'm working on coding and trying to learn this stuff, I'm not a natural. I'm not gifted like other people are. I'm not a guy that's like, it's so easy. And people are like, oh, things are so easy. I'm like, no, like you have no idea how much time I spend trying to learn these things. People are like, oh, writing. You just had such a quick career. Like I spent, my first year, nothing but writing over and over and over. I wish it was, it was easy for me. And I think it's just as hard for me as it is for the average person. It's just, I just say, I got nothing else. This is it. So subdivide those tasks. And then if you need distraction, when I'm working on something really hard, if I'm writing and I need that break is not a thing that will divert me. That break is I go for a walk, the phone stays in the pocket. I go for a 15-minute walk, come back, and I start again. And I say, I'm back here in 15 minutes. I open up the work that I got to get done next. And that's a habit I have too, is where if I'm like, man, I got to go write this today, but I'm going to go eat my lunch. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to open up my Scrivener file, start the document, and do that. So when I sit down in front of my computer, it's like, hello, here we go. So
yeah,
just thought. Just somebody asked in the chat room, they said, Andrew, for app development, especially for something like your Tiny Shop, you may want to look into some of the languages that work across both iOS and Android. It's a very, very good point. And that's one of the things where you can start diving into like, should I do this? Should I do that? I use Ruby, whereas Ruby Motion, which is a way to do that. For me, I figured, you know what? It's probably a good idea for me to get in the habit of learning new languages. So I figured I would go learn Swift, because Swift is pretty powerful. And granted, it's iOS, although it's now open source, so it can work on other systems. But I said, let me go learn this and also be on the back end of what I'll need to do to make Tiny Shop work with it would serve when I port it to other systems. So it's a very good point, but I think there's a method to my madness. And, man, it's like, you have to step back. You have to step back. And Brian, in your case, I would say you really need to step back and look at like, you may be working things, maybe you may have a system that actually works really quite well. You do two major podcasts between Scam School and Modern Rogue, which, is amazing. You do all the other regular stuff you do, but also you do Night Attack. Look at the volume of how many hours of content how many hours of content do you create a week? Plus, you manage to do scam stuff. Plus, I don't know if you guys have heard on Science Channel, a week from this Saturday, you can go check out Scam School. It's going to be at 8 a.m. Make sure to record it on our DVR. I think things are working.
And they are. And I don't want to pretend that they're not. But looking back, I've never had this moment of self-reflection. What I've really done is I've set myself up in a wonderful virtuous trap that forces me to partner with all different people. Like everything I do, I have to partner with someone with a salt and pepper beard on, because I know that other person will show up when we're supposed to show up and do stuff. And same thing with with scam stuff. It's like, we set a release date, and the pressure of that deadline forces me to make those calls at that moment.
And I would argue that you're a person that you need to go sit down and go play 15 minutes of Hearthstone, or you need to go hop in there and play the game. You need to be able to do that kind of thing, because I have all the stress in my life. Most of the 90% of the stress in my life is self-inflicted. It's my own. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I rarely have people coming to me. I do. Maybe every couple of weeks it might be an editor or somebody like this.
No, and actually, I think you're right, because I would not have qualified it as a need, and I don't feel like in that moment I'm doing a good thing. I feel like I'm goofing around. But if you look at the system in general, there is kind of like this piddling wait state where it's like I try to be in a zen place so that the next fire that shows up, I'm ready to, just pivot right into it, and I'm not freaking out.
Yeah, I get the number of disasters that have to be solved that fall onto my doorstep, they happen much more infrequently than you do. And that makes it easier. I can plan for stuff. I can do this sort of stuff. And that means, but also means my stress level is nowhere near what yours probably is. And so,
well, yeah, I think for Brian, you have to stay at a certain level of center because that's just what your life is. You can't go too far. Like you can't just disappear for 48 hours into something away from your house.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's an element. That's something that you just need to do. Now, Bonnie is very flexible that you can, leave at 48 hours notice to go do something if it needs to be done. But there's still an element that you got to stay at home for. And I would say for you, before you give yourself short shrift, I mean, I remember, you telling me about how Scam School came together, and that was a large multi-step process that there was a big deadline ahead of it. But you worked really hard. I mean, hell, as much as I like to give you guff about it, like I know when you're preparing for something, like, you have insane commitment and dedication to physical fitness and stuff like that. And like that to me is that's deep work. That's commitment. Mm-hmm. That's a level that I think few people can really touch.
If it's getting done, and that's what I'll have discussions with people like, oh, so-and-so did this or whatever. I'm like, it's getting done. It's getting done. And I remember hearing about a magician, and I'm not going to name him. I'd heard about like, oh, they're always late to set. They do this. I'm like, listen, that's frustrating, whatever. But the position of stress that he's in, that he's dealing with, that may be the only way that he copes with it, which I agree would be better if that wasn't the way that it was done. But if it's getting done, then that might be what it needs. And that's the thing you have. And that's when you start to accommodate, like, you hear, Steve Jobs, Mercurial CEOs and things like that. Like, if the results are working, that's fine. Uber's going through this big thing right now. We're like, hey, no, we think we have a lot of structural problems. We've had great growth, but people are starting to hate us. We're this. And so they bring in Eric Holder to do like an internal report because like, yeah, this part's working. This other part's not working. And we got along by saying we had great growth, but now we're at a point where it could collapse. If you weren't delivering the output you were, Brian, I'd say that's a problem. So I would say, again, my advice is step one for deep work is figure out what the goal is. What I do personally is I say, in 7 days, I'm going to have a novel, and, in 1 week, I'm going to be able to understand the rudimentary aspects of making an app, not a great app, but I will know all the things that I don't know that I need to know as far as what are the steps, what are the tools, what are that, and how to get the information to do that. So I set those goals for myself, and then I figure out how I apportion my time to do that. And I say, okay, what's realistic? You're like, oh, I'm going to work 24 hours straight and get this done. Not realistic. And when it comes to learning something, you can say, I'm going to spend all day learning it, but your brain needs time to stop and process. And while, I look at a course that says, it's 24 hours. I'm like, oh, I can be done with that in 2 days. Like, yes, I could watch every video, and be done in, 36 hours. The problem is my retention. I know my retention level won't be there, and I have to space that out,
right?
But not too much.
Well, and you have to
go ahead. Sorry.
So you have to get hands on with those pieces long enough that they enter automatic memory for you.
Absolutely, yeah. Or just to know enough to know that when I encounter this again, I'll remember how to find the answer to the problem. That I'll know how to. And that's so much of coding is just like knowing where to look to find the answer, and just knowing like I think I know what I'm looking at. Let me double check. But for any task, whatever it is, if you say, I want to do a podcast, you got to say, I need to spend X amount of hours to get this thing done. Figure out, and maybe I only have an hour Monday to do this, and then I'll have 2 hours Tuesday to do this. You figure out what the task is. You divide the task to the time that you have in a realistic way, and then you start. Now, if you find out you're not getting it done, you stop and you analyze. I went through that with my writing. I had a period where I'm like, man, I'm not delivering it the same way that I want to, or I'm not having fun. Stepped back, pulled out a notebook, and I made a bunch of notes. What worked for me? What didn't? We're not introspective enough. We're not analytical enough about these processes. And when you are, in my own personal experience, it's made a humongous change in my life, and I've become more efficient. So that's my advice. Figure out what it is, break down the time, analyze how you're using that time, and if one of those things isn't working out, reassess. But be aware that there are way more distractions to us than there are before. As intelligent, creative people, we will create excuses for why we're doing the other thing, why it's okay to jump ship into this other project. It's the biggest problem being a creative is you're like, this is a great idea, But what I really think this should be doing is the plan B is this. And how many times did you hear me tell you that, Justin?
I mean,
A lot.
A lot. Let's
all of them.
Let's go ahead and leave it at a lot.
Yeah. And I still do that. Difference is things are getting delivered. Things are getting, you know, I have, yeah.
I think that the difference is that now, again, you know, I think you have had tremendous success because the biggest thing that you realize is that you do, you know, in a crude way, humanity is not the absence of progress, right? Like, you know, you have to understand how these ideas kind of rattle around with the world to get a better sense of where to drive this fantastic production engine in between your ears. And I think that a lot of that in part came from the validation of success in some of the work. But I think what drove it to another level was realizing, like, all right, like now that things are kind of moving a little bit, let's understand closer to, you know, how do I not drive myself nuts? You know, how do I not leave chunks of me in the trail behind and realize that I'm not so much better for it?
You know, and one of the things that happens is when you train yourself to finish things, it becomes easier to finish things. And so question, Waffleogus asks, Andrew, when you say that you have 7 days to write a novel or something, how much time a day are you going to be writing to get writing at this point? Because I'm trying to juggle 4 massive things, which is getting in the way. Now, I'm going to say this. When you prioritize and you say, this is the thing I'm going to do, if you can get rid of those other obligations for that time period, then you get rid of those other obligations of the time period, because we will spend more time and more mental energy juggling in trying to deal with the guilt that something else isn't getting done than just doing the thing. I had a project where I promised some friends a script, and I had a month where I was going back and forth. I had to worry about the edits of a book, which didn't take a lot of time, but mentally I don't want to focus on one book while I'm trying to finish another or one story. That's one of my rules is I don't, and I know writers like, oh yeah, I'll start multiple stories. And it's like, all right, some people that works, but I know a lot of people that tell me this, they don't deliver, you know? And it's like me, I'm sequential. If I have an idea for a story, I'll pull out a notebook, I'll put my notes down and I put it away. I don't try to multitask back and forth, because it's not like I'm getting 2 things done at once. I'm getting 2 things done 5 times as slowly and crappily. So when it comes down to like 7 days, I knew I was planning on 2 weeks. I got sick. I lost a week, but I just figured out like I spent 2 or 3 days was just writing an outline, you know, and then diving into it. You figure out how much time you have. You have to, you know, I don't know how many words can you write per hour. I don't write when I'm writing in a competent level, I can write a lot of words per hour, but it'll be sloppy and messy. But if I feel comfortable writing, 2,000 words an hour, I feel is a good pace for me. You know, I'm not too stressed, whatever. 2,000 words an hour is a good pace for me. So I know that if I have a good outline, it means that I've got to spend, 40 hours writing. So if I'm sitting down that line, so I know I got to spend 40 hours writing at 2,000 words per hour. And if I have a week, I can either spend, just 5 days at 8 hours, or more likely I'll spend, 10 hours a day, but I'll break it up into 3-hour chunks, and then that's how I do it. How much time do I have? How many words per hour?
But here's something that also that I don't want to get lost, especially with the writing example, was, watching as you very much shaped your life around writing for a period of time. What also changed was the prep and getting better at outlining, making sure that you're constantly reading books on writing and figuring out exactly what you did, being very self-critical and analyzing stories that you had just written, right? And having ideas on what was going forward, and identifying franchise elements and where you could go with larger stories, but also being restrictive on like, okay, well, I want to do this right now. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to get distracted. There was so much of the anxiety, I think, on large things comes from our constant what's next. And and really, to me, what experience is knowing what's next, is knowing, okay, well, I do this and then I do this and then I do that. And that's my pathway through this project. But if I can optimize step 1 and step 2, then it'll be better. But not wondering, I'm at step 2. I wonder if this is step 3.
Right. The pre-work is super, super critical. And I'll give you an example of like, I'll tell people like, hey, I want to do a website. I'm like, well, if you just want an easy website that looks good, use Squarespace. And people go like, they'll come back like, oh, I tried. And it's like, okay, here's my advice now for people. Before you even open up Squarespace, I want you to get a folder on your desktop and I want you to put in all the images you want to use. Just collect images. Look for images, headshots, close-up shots, what product shots, whatever you want to do. Put together all the images that you're going to want to use first, because when you dive into then text, write an about text, who you are, write a text of what you have before you even open up the software to put this thing together, because it's essentially a layout tool. It's a tool for laying things out. And if you don't have things to lay out, you won't know what to do, and you're going to get frustrated and angry. Same with Photoshop. When I talk to people about book covers and stuff, before I open up Photoshop, I have a sketch of what I want to do. I've already grabbed all the elements. It's a composition tool. Photoshop, for me, I use it just for compositing stuff, which means I need to have these images first. They may not be the ones I end up with. People fail because they go into there and they're confronted with the question that they don't have an answer to and they weren't prepared for. They thought, I'm going to create, like, yeah, but you need this thing. Now you got to go find that thing that you didn't realize you need. When I write a book, I need to have a character. I need to have a plot. I need to have all these little things laid out for me. So when I sit in front of the computer screen, I'm not going, okay, now what? It's like to me, it's like the same as opening up Photoshop going, I know I want to cover, what do I want to do? If I'm trying to play with that in Photoshop, I'm going to fail, versus if I sat down with a notebook and made a bunch of notes about, I want the cover to look like this and do this and this and this. So.
I mean, it is fascinating to watch. We're just now to the point where we're finalizing the design for Action News, and watching Meg and Fawn of Guts and Glory, who are our designers, work on that is just like, that process is something that is really, really fascinating. And part of it is exactly what Andrew's saying. You know, they are pulling and they are designing, you know, right from scratch, like, but they pull references from everything. And they are constantly finding, you know, what's the visual thread here? What do we want to accomplish? How are we looking to do it? Everything has a purpose. And especially for something like this, where we're being evocative of designs from the 70s and 80s specifically, you have to understand, like, okay, well, how do you do this, but not make it a ripoff, but also make it forward and new and modern looking, you know? And there's so much that goes into it, but so much of it is pre-work. So much of it is just understanding exactly what you want to do and then doing that a million times.
And the thing about pre-work, which is fascinating, is it can get to a point where you're not even aware of it. Now, it was my problem listening to a number of authors talk, like established ones, is they forgot the things that they got intuitively now that they didn't initially, and why they couldn't give advice to a beginner. When every week, Brian puts together 2 broadcast quality shows, Scam School, Modern Rogue, and they are broadcast quality. I will fight anybody who says that they're not. They absolutely are. Nobody's not the name of saying that. They're broadcast quality shows. Every week he delivers 2 broadcast quality shows. Brian and team
that of course is the royal Brian.
Yeah, that's
Brian and his team they know what this is. They know what these things are. So Brian has an intuitive idea of, well, Scam School episode is this. He doesn't have to go jump through all the stages of outlining and stuff like that maybe he did when he was planning years ago. Brian brings in team members and he says, I'm going to put this knowledge into your head, or you're going to do this and you're going to expand on it and you're going to build it. And it is so much of what they do, they don't even have to sit down and notebook and document it, because they know that. Justin does how many hours of extemporaneous talking do you do a week in podcasts?
Close to 4.
4 hours a week. You do 4 hours of a week of you on a microphone with content and no dead spots, we hope, going through continuously, okay? That came from you spending years of studying people who did that and saying, okay. And we would make jokes. You know, he and I used to make jokes because we talk about, like, our admiration for the skill. Let me emphasize the skill of Rush Limbaugh, because this guy would hop on the microphones every day and he'd have these little, on my previously nicotine-stained fingers, I have here a thing I'm going to read for you. And this is going, and like, the way he could do is lead up and get into it and he would, every now and then he'd say something to Mr. Snerdley, but his conversation with himself was fascinating, because it was just, Howard Stern's an incredible broadcaster, but Limbaugh, the ability, that audience size for one guy, you know, forget the content, people. Get past the content.
in what is a torturous format.
Yeah.
Like the amount of ads that they jam into that show. That was always my biggest thing, is like, how does anybody listen to this like 5-second at a time minisode between an ad read that is 4 times as long? Like you just want, it's actively chasing you away with billboards, and yet it's still so well listened to because, you know, a one mic person can kind of create that voice in your head sort of journey.
So these are skills you and Brian both had to. There was a lot of work over a lot of time, and some of it was background processing. You didn't know what you were doing, but you were just acquiring those skills. But then now the pre-work is easy. You know, for me, my pre-work on a novel is much easier than it used to be because I learned those things, and that's one of the advantages of once you understand what you're trying to do, how you're going to get those skills to do it, it becomes easier.
Right.
You know, and the work is still there, but it becomes you don't have to think as much about the other parts.
So for my pick, I'm going to do it again, but I would say the thing I've read the most that would be the most conducive to creating those deep work environments is The One Thing. It's currently blowing up the charts. I think it's like #1 bestseller right now.
Nice.
By Gary Keller. It's pretty good.
Very cool.
My pick, of course, is going to be Scam School, airing on Science Channel June 24th at 8 a.m. 2 episodes, a back-to-back rock block, 8 a.m. and 8:30. That is, of course, on the Science Channel June 24th. If you have not set your DVR, honestly, like, why are you spitting in all of our faces at once? Like, this is a personal offense if you are not. Don't say, don't worry, I'll do it. Stop badgering me. I'm badgering you until you, okay, finally I'll stop because you just did it. Thank you.
My pick is the Black Panther trailer.
Ha!
Black Panther trailer dropped, and it looks amazing. I hope the movie's as good as that is, but Coogler, who is the director of Creed, is an amazing director. Creed was a fantastic movie, and that he got to go in and take over the Black Panther character is amazing and awesome. I thought that we saw, you know, I talked a bit about Wonder Woman before, and as how it was directed by Patty Jenkins, I thought it was really, really well done. The characters are great. And I think that choosing these people who aren't necessarily known for visual effects movies and having them do character stuff, I think could be maybe a good idea. So,
no, I think it's rad. I love the idea that they turned Wakanda closer to Asgard than New York City. You know, it is just a great idea. And already in that little opening tete-a-tete, it's already better than those two actors' performance in the Hobbit movie. So I'm already excited.
True. Chad Boseman and Michael B. Jordan, they could have been better. They could have, in those movies.
Yeah, no. I mean, we haven't really heard a lot of the dialogue or any sense of the story. And you want to know what? I really dig the fact that between this, Ragnarok, and Guardians 2, it seems like the future of Marvel is in this like very colorful, very kind of almost not psychedelic in the sense that it's crazy and trippy or anything, but certainly very spectrum of colors in a way that I wonder whether or not that's like a reaction either to their own movies or just how how in their own format blockbuster films have been. But as we come into Wakanda, we just see like all these crazy colors and shapes and everything, and I think that's super rad.
But still kind of gritty and cool when it needs to be, which I dug about the Captain America films.
Yeah, totally.
Super, super stoked. So, hey, if you guys have any questions, you want us to tackle a business idea or thing that you want to do, and we'll give you our opinion on it. We're not saying it's a good opinion, but we'll give it to you. That's what After Things is for. And use special code After Things, and you'll get absolutely nothing.
But if you have a question, email it to neshcom@gmail with After Things in the subject line.
Mm-hmm. Woo!
It's been after.
Woo.
Yeah.
Good shows, good shoes.
Yeah.
That soundtrack alone for Black Panther is like,
Oh yeah.
and I dug what I liked about it is that they made like Wakanda a really cool African country. You know,
yeah.
and not like, you know, it didn't all that. I love just the look of that. Like, hey, it just looked really cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, I gotta study up for some cord killing stuff.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Gotta dive deep into Swift.
Ooh, fun.
Oh.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. It'll be something. I'll probably eat lunch.
That sounds
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead to lunch, so I might call you on my way to lunch.
You got it. You got
All
it.
right, dude. Later, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Ooh, man.
Got it like